And we return for the second leg of the FIDE Chess.com Women's Speed Chess Championship. I am joined by Jennifer Shahadi. Jennifer, it's really an honor and a pleasure to be having the call with you for this leg.
I can't wait. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here.
And Jennifer, you and I go way back. You were just sharing privately an interview that we did 10 years ago. So it's particularly fun to work with you. I'm always, I've always enjoyed your work separately, but getting to cover this event with you is certainly something I look forward to. And well, let's show everybody who's playing and the standings that we've had thus far. You see that Anna Ushanina won the first leg. Was that surprising to you, Jen? Or she's of course a former world champion herself, so she's capable of anything.
A little surprising. I mean, Valentina Gunina, Alexander Kosteniuk, some of these players that were participating, not to forget, our world champion Ju and Jun. Definitely a bit of an upset, but not that shocking, as she is also a former world champion. But do note that Hou Yifan makes her debut in today's event.
And I think we have her name circled, don't we, Jen?
Yes, we have her name circled as the favorite. I'm going to go out on a limb there, as the players are playing 3 out of the 4 legs, right? So Hou Yifan did skip that first leg.
She did indeed. And let's remind everybody of the format overall, as they can see the players there. But the format was there were 6 Swiss tournaments, and any titled player could join. And there were top 8 players moving on to a knockout. The top 2 finishers in the knockout moved into the overall field. So that's how we got to where we are now. In the Grand Prix, there will be 4 legs. As we mentioned, Yifan, she did not play in the first leg. She will play in the remaining 3, including today's action. And you play 3 out of the 4 events, and then the scores are added up. And how are they added up? We see here that the prize money, the Grand Prix points, they're split differently depending on your placement. First place gets a whopping 12 points and $3,000. Second place, you see 8 and $2,000, and the rest is just there visible to you on screen. So Anna Ushanina leads with 12 points. We had Valentina Gunina with 8. And for today's action, Gunina returns right in this opening matchup. But I think all eyes are on Hou Yifan. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, Hou Yifan. It's just so exciting to see her play in general. She did take some time off chess, went to Oxford, so it's just great to see her getting back into things. And she's just such an incredibly talented player. Definitely keeping my eyes on her. Now, people asked us about where some of their favorite players are. For instance, Tatev Abrahamyan, because they only play 3 out of 4 events. Everybody skips an event. Tatev is skipping this leg.
Yeah, and also there will be more action. So it's 8:30 Eastern time right now. At 10 Eastern, the second batch of matches will begin because there are 16 total players, 8 total matches. So if your player, you say, wait, they're playing today. Why are they not on the list right now? They'll be playing later. Don't you worry. We have to make sure that we can't cover everybody at the same time. But you're right, Jen. We should always point out that some people will be sitting out this leg, but we do have great players left. And one person and one matchup I just have to keep my eye on is this matchup between Anna Muzychuk and Vaishali Rameshbabu, because Vaishali was a star in the opening leg. She made it to the semifinals. She ended up in 4th place, losing in the 3rd place matchup to Alexander Kosteniuk. But she's proven that she can beat a player, someone as strong as Anna Muzychuk, in a match.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that as well. 19 years old. And then we have Anna Muzychuk, who is just such a strong, aggressive player. I'm really excited for that one as well. And yeah, that's true that in an hour and a half, we're going to add new players into the mix, including Irina Krash, who makes her debut today as well.
I'm certainly curious how Irina will fare, because I think she's known more for her classical chess skills, but she certainly can mix it up. She's a veteran player. She can play a great blitz match for sure. So Irina will make her debut, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. And in our first round of action here, we have Ning Kayu also making her debut. Oh, I see games are getting underway. We have
Yay!
the game Anna Muzychuk and Vaishali here. But we also will have Ning Kayu making her debut against none other than Katerina Lachenau. So it's tough going from the very beginning.
That's right. And we're starting with these 5-minute games with a 1-second increment. So less likely to have an absolute, flag up a queen, but still very fast. I like that time control.
It is fast, and we can choose our games, which is nice. This time control does give the players the opportunity to rebuild time on the clock as well. I think people sometimes like, oh no, she's down to 10 seconds left. But if she makes a couple quick moves, that's 10 seconds can quickly become 13 seconds, quickly become 15 seconds with that 1 second increment. But right now in this game, Jen, we have pretty calm opening out of the Italian game. Knight went to f1 before castling. So I think for some people sitting at home watching, wait, don't our coaches always tell us to castle first? Jen, why is it okay to play knight f1 this early and not have castle?
Well, because it's such a closed position that actually castling is not as important as usual. But don't clip me saying that. You know, when things are closed, it's not as key to castle right away. You can play knight g3 and then castle. And at that point, you might save a move because normally you'd have to castle, play rook e1, and then play knight f1. And the reason that knight on g3 is so strong is because you see the possibility of sticking it on f5 at some point, or h5, depending on what transpires if we get a bishop to g5. So this is an opening that I've always enjoyed playing for the white pieces. A lot of hidden energy in it, as white will bide their time and potentially play the move d4 as well.
I love the way you describe chess. A lot of hidden energy is a great way of putting it. And it's because there's no tension just yet. No pawns are attacking each other. And as you're pointing out, once d4 happens, or black in some variations able to play d5, we start seeing the center break open and these bishops on a7 staring at f2, on b3 staring at f7. They may make their presence felt with the additional possibility of knight f5 and even knight f4 for black, depending on what transpires. So I think it's a great way of putting it in. We see the start of some tension now. And I don't know. I feel like these positions, to my eye, always slightly favor white just because you are first and you get this d4 move, so you're a little more active.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. That bishop on b3 is tremendous. Like this is the Roy Lopez bishop, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that normally you see it getting kicked around a little bit with knight a5, but that knight's actually on the other side of the board right now. So yeah, it's a little bit more fun for the white pieces. So did you want to stick with this game, Robert?
No, let's bop around. Which game should we go to next?
Well, I think maybe the headliner, Hou Yifan, as she kicked off the event with an opening that I used to really like, especially for blitz. I ended up abandoning it at some point, but she played this queen takes d4 line in the Sicilian, which is such an appealing opening to play. It looks weird because you're getting your queen out early, and not for the same reasons that Magnus did yesterday.
Slightly different. I don't think there was an intentional queen sacrifice for just a pawn in this game.
But the reason is that you get this strong Maroczy bind type structure with c4 and e4 getting a real nice d5 square. And if you back up just to the very beginning when we play queen takes d4, the reason people sometimes do that is that if you play knight c6 right away here, bishop b5 it's a strong response. And the idea is that you can't actually kick my queen out right away.
Right. And white will have the opportunity to castle and still go for this Maroczy bind type of structure. So I used to play this in my childhood as well. I don't know what it is about, I guess, us American, we American players learn this opening where we bring our queen out too soon, and it doesn't get us in trouble, even though, again, as coaches, we're like, no, don't do that. Do not put your queen in the center of the board on move 4. But we've learned our lessons and we take those to heart. So don't clip this and starts being like, well, Jennifer, well, Robert, you said this. Yeah, do as we say, not as we showed you in this game.
I think the reason people are attracted to this line, everybody has a little foray with queen takes d4, is because it ties into one of the major goals of playing the white side of the Sicilian, which is to castle queenside and mate. Now, in this case, it's the exact opposite. It's not a slashing variation. Instead, it's a positional treatment. But look what happened. Hou Yifan actually just lost an exchange.
Yeah, I was.
What's?
I'm a little speechless because I was letting you talk and like I wanted you to finish your point, but I'm sitting here like, wait, knight c2 is a threat, and she moved her rook from f1 to d1, and that's actually a moment she could have avoided by just putting her a rook to d1. She brought her rook f1, just walked right into the fork.
Is it possible she's typing in the moves, Robert, and that she accidentally did rook f instead of rook a?
I mean, oh my gosh, if she's typing in the moves and playing blitz like that, that is, firstly, I don't even know what to say to that. That's got to
I'm sorry because she's such a legendary player. I'm just looking for a plausible explanation. Like Hou Yifan doesn't miss knight c2 in a bullet game in her sleep, right?
right.
Like in a dream.
And I think it may go to show that she's rusty. She is one of the, I mean, she's extremely experienced, but she's the less frequent players of the bunch these days. She was studying, and she's now coming back, and it's hard to play game after game after game. And credit to Gunay Mamadzara because she lost 11-0 to Alexander Kostenyuk in the first leg, but she's coming against the strongest player in the competition, saying, "I'm not afraid of you. I'm ready for this battle." And when Yifan blunders an exchange, you probably should take it.
I know I'm still sticking to my theory that she was somehow typing in that move and got mixed up. I can't compute this. This is crazy. Or is it possible that White has some really good compensation here, Robert?
I think White would have had the same compensation she does now, but without being an exchange down. So, I'm with you. I'm trying to come up with any sort of, plausible explanation. None come to mind. And she's down in exchange. It's not the best exchange I've ever seen, just because the position isn't open. And in order for rooks to make their presence felt, you need to open some files. But this pawn on c4, pawn on b3 configuration is making Black's life a bit more difficult, just because you can't get a pawn break with b5 or d5. So for now, Yifan, she's holding on. She's able to maybe fend off Black's initiative for a while. But as soon as files start opening up, Jennifer, that seems like it might be the end of the game here.
Yeah, I mean, we called earlier that we thought Hou Yifan was the favorite today, but after this game, I'm concerned. I just don't have a plausible explanation for it, except that potential texting. But even then, I don't know why it would default to rook f to d1, right?
Yeah, I'm shocked. I really am shocked right now. I wish I had a better line to give everybody about what happened. You don't see a player like Yifan blunder exchange, but this just happens in the format. I don't want to, be too harsh on her. All the players in this field will drop pieces at some point or other.
Now let's take a look at Anna Muzychuk's game, as we were talking about this opening earlier and how we like the energy in White's position. And on the other hand, for Black, one of the goals in these lines is to get the move d5 in, which Black did in fact do. She did just get this move d5 in. And now the question is, what can White do? Can we play knight f5 favorably here? And which knight if we do play knight f5?
So I was commentating the first leg with Anna Crumling, and she told me that this is her favorite move, knight f5. But now you're spoiled for choice, and it's making it difficult. I have to believe knight gf5 feels better, because I don't actually want to trade my bishop on e3, because in conjunction with knight f5 or knight takes h6 or bishop takes h6, or going right for some kind of sacrifice in front of this king. But it is a very committal choice, because the e4 pawn is under threat by a million different pieces. So she ends up going the other side of the board. But as we see the evaluation bar, it's starting to go quite a deal in Black's favor. So this pawn e4 can just be captured, it seems like.
Yeah, and the problem is that really what White wanted in this line was some kind of kingside attack, and with pieces coming off the board and the knight on b5, which isn't the kind of theater that White is better on, it seems like less exciting. But that said, Anna's got 2 times as much time, double the time of her opponent in a 5-minute one game. So that counts for something as well, as Queen b6 was just played by the young Indian player.
Yeah, it seems like it's still a fascinating battle here, because now I just realizing what's Queen b6? It's attacking the knight, but the knight can't go back to c3 because d4 happens, and now I get a fork. And rook b3, there may be a discovery on this queen and behind the bishop. So it's actually quite a tactical battle right now. And the point that you made earlier, that Anna Muzychuk just has more time, 25 seconds counting down for Vaishali. She does take on e4 here and allows a discovery, saying there is no good one here. The knight doesn't have d6 or c7.
And the knight just went back to c3, looking to capture the e4 pawn. Always a mark of a tremendous player, allowing a discovery. I mean, it's funny because it's kind of flips, right? At the basic level, you don't allow discoveries because you're just going to lose your pieces. And then intermediate players are terrified of them. And then very advanced players are like, I can let this happen, no biggie. As Queen c6 was just played, looking at a potential battery if move e3 is executed, then Queen takes g2 will be mating.
And so I think white has to be quick here, not just on the time, but on the board. Queen a7 here, hitting this bishop on b7. She was queen a4, which is also good. You're allowing a queen trade with the queens off. There's no longer these concerns with the checkmate on g2. But I am still a bit annoyed by this knight f4 idea for black. We're talking about knight f5 for white. In comes a knight f4 at some moment for black, but I guess the e4 pawn is on the verge of collapsing here. So I guess this is going to be a time scramble, and that's what's going to decide this game. It's 9 seconds for white, 5 seconds for black, and now we're seeing some trades.
Yeah, it might be that this will just be a well played draw, as I think they can both navigate here. Do you want to look at one of the other time scrambles? Maybe Hou Yifan looks like she's totally lost, but there is still Gunina versus Tao Win.
Okay, let's go here. Whoa, this is so. One thing I've noticed about Tao Win from Vietnam is she loves closed, solid positions. So when I saw this game, I immediately was like, okay, this is one of hers. And the thing is that white needs to attack some. White has a knight, which is good against this bishop because the knight can sit on a light square and the bishop can never attack it. That's a limitation of a bishop in an endgame, especially. But where is the progress going to come from? They're shuffling back and forth. The position is better for white. Should she play f3 and e4? Or if she wants to play rook g1, but how to make it work?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a way to get my knight somewhere exciting.
Knight f8, right now.
Here's knight f8, I like it, and she did it.
And now the rook comes into g6. She found a way to offer the rook exchange. Oh, the knight, I thought the knight was trapped for a second. I forgot it was attacking e6. And now Gunina, she's mopping the pawns up, all of them. f5 falls, h6 falls, and that h5 pawns will become a queen.
Well, that was a tremendous example of the power of a knight over a bishop in the endgame in certain situations, like that one where the bishop was just biting on granite, and they instantly start their next game as Vanina in 1989 off to a good start. Valentina Gunina, she's such an aggressive player.
She is, and let's go to maybe the Yifan game because that one looks furthest along, at least in terms of the opening and the theory. So let's go.
Absolutely. We're going to have a Sicilian theme, it seems like, in this match because now Hou Yifan has played it's a 2 knights variation, I think, of the Sicilian, or maybe they call it 4 knights. It's kind of the nameless Sicilian, but a really good one despite that.
Yeah, it's kind of this position where, at least the one we've gone to here, where you don't want to take this knight on b4 until you can and it's winning. So that sounds very strange to say, but oftentimes people forget that the position has changed with every single move. So at some point, a takes b4 will be a threat. I just want to show why it wasn't immediately, was because after a takes, not only is rook a1, bishop takes b3 first. I prefer to throw on the move. Is c takes b3, a takes b4. Not only is rook a1 a threat, but also this knight on c3 is pinned to the king on c1. So you actually get yourself into very quick trouble by opening up all the lines in front of your king, which is why you ignore the knight for now, but move like bishop to g5. And it's still kind of a strategic positional struggle rather than a full-on tactical one just yet, where white controls the b5 square, and that's a permanent control because your pawn can't go a5 to a6. And maybe we'll try to get a knight to d5 eventually, where black wants to play d5 herself. I mean, Jennifer, these positions are really tense.
Oh, and I love them for both colors. So I'd be quite satisfied to just stick with this game and see if Hou Yifan can come back from that first round loss.
Yeah, a surprising one just because we never expect her to lose a game, but we have to give Gunay Mamatata credit. She's a fantastic player. And as I said, she's bouncing back from her opening leg defeat where she wasn't able to score points. It rains, it pours, and that's what was happening. So a4 play. Look at this move. Typical Sicilian move. There's a bishop, there's a knight, both attacking the square, but you're willing to give up pawns and maybe even exchanges on the queen side to open up the attack. So, for example, bishop takes a4. Maybe there's a rook takes a4 because let's just show that. After rook a4, knight takes a4, the bishop takes b3. And your knight's under attack, your c2 pawn, your c2 pawn's pinned. This is the Sicilian for you, everybody.
Yeah, this is why we play the Sicilian, guys. So a4, bishop a4, rook a4 looks wonderful. Knight takes a4 doesn't do any help because we just have bishop takes b3, clipping the knight in one move. Therefore, that pawn looks taboo. We probably should just, I don't know, move the knight. Ugh. No, that doesn't look fun either. Like knight A1,
Oh
not the
gosh.
dreams that knight had waking up this morning. So
So she
bishop takes
take
A4 was played.
there must be a tactic that helps white out somehow because maybe you can take on b4 coming soon. So like rook takes a4. Honestly, to me, to my eyes, at first glance, it looks like it's just great for black. And after rook a4, there must be some kind of a takes b4, saying my knight covers a1. If you take on b3, not that big a deal. Um, so you take on b3, I take with a c pawn. Now my king has c2 to escape to. It looks sketchy, but you're surviving, and that's probably what she's relying on. And after rook takes a4, she's thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks incredibly scary. It looks like a great performance so far by Hou Yifan. And bishop takes f6 was her choice. Okay, so how does that change things? After bishop takes f6, knight a4, bishop c b3 still threatens the knight on a4 and disallows queen b4 with queen c2 mate.
Right.
So how does this really change things?
I think she's going back to some of the positional themes where she's going to take on b4, and then maybe at the end of this, she can try to put her knight on d5. Like that, after a takes b4, rook takes b4, now you do have this move knight to d5, whereas in some of the other variations, you would not have that. So it's very interesting how this goes from tactical to positional all at the same time. And people often think it's one or the other. No. Chess is both at every single moment.
Yeah, this was yeah. Well, I love that, especially even in blitz. That's incredible. And by the way, big props as this is White's been playing fantastically to find that so quickly. Maybe it's forced, but still, you're under a lot of pressure against the second highest rated female player in history, Hou Yifan, and I'm really feeling like this is impressive showing so far.
It really is. And Yvonne, she's spending her time. She is now down nearing a minute on the clock. It's a complex position where the strategic elements, I would say this d5 square, the pressure on the backward d6 pawn, will start to favor white if black cannot keep up the initiative here. So I'm actually worried that Yvonne's in some trouble.
Yeah, she's thinking now. She hasn't immediately taken back on b4. In fact, she took on b3. So
Ooh.
now pawn takes b3, rook a1 check, king c2, and that's the problem, that actually you've allowed me this escape square on c2 with this capture. So those tripled pawns, Robert, are not nearly as bad as they look.
I think they look great. So I'm a triple pawn fan. No, I'm really not. I mean, isolated triple pawns, not my favorite set of pawns, but what I love is this d5 square. And that is where this knight on c3 is going to jump. And this is typical Sicilian, bad bishop, excellent knight coming your way.
Yeah, and by the way, white is up one pawn, right? So they're triple pawns, but we I'm just saying we're up one at the moment. You could play rook takes b4 though. So
And
rook a1 check, king c2 don't look like it leads to anything. If I'm black, I play rook takes b4.
right. And after rook takes b4, I anticipate just maybe queen takes d6, going to an endgame perhaps. Or I wonder if there's a way, because I don't really want to trade too many pieces. I want to use my knight against your bishop, but I need to come up with the perfect way to do so. She plays rook a6, clearly not wanting to give up d6 after all that. And, well, you're right, Jennifer. It's an extra pawn for white. I mean, we have three b pawns.
So the key thing here is I'm dying to play knight d5, but I can't right now because it's not a legal move. My king is on c1. My normal Sicilian instinct as white would be to say king b1 in an instant, but this is not a normal situation because the a file is wide open. So normally I would have some cover with a pawn on a2. So king b1, rook to a8, threatening to come into the position, continuing to disallow knight d5 because there would be a rook a1 mate. So yeah, king b1 is what I really want to do, but it doesn't look that promising.
Yeah, I'm with you here. And another idea is, well, we have three b pawns. You might as well start pushing them. Maybe b5. And the point is that your rook on a6 is doing it all. It's protecting the pawn on d6 while threatening the a file. But then I force you to make a choice. After b5, your rook either continues protecting d6, which case it sits on b6, that looks really bad, or it stays in the a file, in which case the d6 pawn might collapse. But the one downside, the major downside of playing b5 is you open up the a5 square for the black queen. So I'm not sure. Now I'm letting Mamadzada, I'm letting her figure this out, because b5 is the type of committal move that you can regret if this queen eventually comes to a5 and into the attack. So she plays king c2 instead. Just I'm going to make a king move like Jennifer suggested, but let's go up instead of to the side.
Yeah, and she's keeping ahead of Hou Yifan on the clock, which is pretty impressive. Let's see. This position also, this kind of looks even harder to play for black, in my opinion. So not an easy situation. Bishop e7, that has 2 points, actually. We're defending our pawn on d6, but we're also hoping maybe in some universe we could play the move d5. Like with your king pinned and I get to play d5 and bishop takes b4, I am breathing a sigh of relief that something exciting is happening in my position.
Yeah, you need to do something, because if you do nothing, you're going to get rolled over. King d3, I'm not even joking, Jennifer. That's the move that she plays it. I was about to say, that's the move that I would play. And
that is a very impressive move. Just going straight to the center, rerouting the king to the king side. But is it good? It's impressive, but is it good?
That's the essential question here, because it looked awesome, but it can backfire. And she's just taking over the light squares. Even f takes e4, I could take with my knight on e4. So she takes on f5 voluntarily. Give me the e4 square. We've changed from a Sicilian into a queen's pawn opening, kind of like a King's Indian type of position with a bishop on e7 instead, where like this d6 pawn.
And we're threatening knight c5. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. We're threatening, we can't, well, knight c5 now, you've moved your rook away, so that's not going to work. But rook c1, it looks like white is just doing so well here, Robert. Could you get 2-0 against Hou Yifan?
Look at this rook on b6. It's not a square you want that rook on. And well, how do you protect b5? I guess that's the issue. Maybe rook c5, making use of your sort of tactical idea. Should we knight back to c3, but e4, timely move, hitting the queen and opening up this king on e2. This is going to backfire.
Hou Yifan does not want to go down 2-0, and now she is making some very good moves in the time scramble. Queen e6 check, king d2, bishop g5. That bishop finally has a happy day.
And I think the bishop wanted to go to e3. Oh, but she brought the queen off of the d4 square, was attacking the rook. Now look at that. Oh, she traded queens. I wasn't expecting that, but it's a pure bullet scramble at this point.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that as well. And now the counting the pawns are equal, but of course, white is still saddled with those triple pawns.
Yeah, triple pawns, and this bishop on f6 now stronger than knight. Never thought I would say that. And now black's up 1, and it's, I think you have to play rook h5. You do it quickly. 1 second. She scared me on the clock, both players.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen in this game still. I mean, I think a draw or a win for black, though.
Yes. Oh my
gosh. Keeps getting down to just fractions of a second.
She's making good moves. Oh, no! Oh, she lost.
And she did flag. Oh, dear.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. Wow. She played so well in those last 10, 20 moves, Robert, to turn around a miserable position, but then loses on time, and the top seed in the event starts out 0-2. Wow.
She does, and I'm pulling up the game between Anna Muzichuk and by Charlotte. Anna Muzichuk has just won in a time scramble, but she's up a couple pawns, so I want to go there. We haven't been able to look at too much Gunina, and also at Lucknow's matchup, we haven't seen too much of. So I'm willing to go wherever you recommend, but I just was noting that like Lucknow versus Kayunin has also not received a fair share of it.
Yeah, and they are playing an endgame right now. By the way, Katerina Lano has gotten off to a great start, 2-0, and looking like in this position, I don't know. I mean, that bishop looks really strong on d5, but does it have any targets? Like, what do you like here, the bishop or the knight?
I mean, at first glance, it has to be the bishop. And I'm taken back to my studies of Bobby Fischer's games against Taimanov, where I'm just like, oh, the bishop against the knight. Yeah, let me have that bishop, please, with the more space. But the one thing I'm thinking about is, as you were pointing, well, what progress can be made? I don't like this move h5 from black. Let me just point that out and say that very clearly. That is on a light square, and that one will become a problem if you ever move your knight from d8. So just a move ago, if the knight moves, like to say to c6, well, there's no attack on the king side. Now there's going to be a problem with this pawn on h5, and as you see from bishop to g8, maybe bishop h7, bishop g6 is coming right away.
Yeah, very big positional error, guys. That's an important one. I mean, this is why we watch blitz games with these great players because it's so instructive. The move H5, I can tell you right now, is not a move that Black would play in a classical game, but just sometimes instincts take over in blitz, and they're not the right instincts.
Ooh, C5 check was brilliant though. I have to give
Oh,
a shout out to Katerina for that because she, even though these are double pawns, we were making fun of the triple isolated ones in the Mamadzada game. This is great because it distracts the black king over to the A file, which means that the white king may start mopping up material. So E4 was a great counter shot by Kayuning here because now E3 is a devastating threat.
that's right. Although our king is so close to the theater of action there. But right now, you're right. E3, typical breakthrough tactic. If we take, you're switching it up and taking the pawn on G3.
Oh, but this is, I think, improperly timed because white now queens first. And once I queen, I'm going to win your knight and probably checkmate your king right away. So E3 was the right idea, but the incorrect execution. Instead of E3, she should have brought her king back to fend off this pawn, I think, or maybe move the knight to C6, something.
C6, yeah.
That,
Knight to C6. And this shows the ineptitude of knights in defending against passed pawns, particularly rook pawns. They're known as great pieces in the attack, great pieces to trick your opponent, but they are not getting high marks for stopping A pawns for queening, Robert.
they certainly are not. In fact, this king's in checkmate with queen G5 right now. It's check and mate. Wow, that pawn just promoted, stole a knight, and then delivered the checkmate very quickly. And they're already off to a new game, so it didn't even give us time to really look too deeply at it. But is there any game that we should switch our attention to now that this one is starting anew?
Well, it looks like Valentina's game against wait, Valentina against Tao Nguyen is 2-0 and so we're having a lot of early huge leads, some potential blowouts here today, Robert.
Although I've learned just because it starts off with a big score for one player does not mean it's going to end that way. But a player like Valentina Gunina, we said this in the first leg, and she made it all the way to the final before suffering a defeat to Anna Uchadina. Is she somebody who can beat anybody? But I also feel like she can sometimes beat herself because she's such an aggressive style where she's looking for the tactical melee where some positions that isn't required. However, I'd say that with the caveat that games like this, where it's already a queenless middle game with two rooks and two minor pieces, she's excellent at finding plans. So it's not like she's a person who can only play tactical chess. And I don't want to act that that's the case because I think that's misleading with how strong she is. She just prefers that style of play.
Yes, I've had the pleasure of calling many of her games at the Karen's Cup. She was the champion in year one. And yeah, she was the most likely to be either champion or last place. She just a big divergence in her great tournaments and her bad tournaments.
Yeah, we often classify those players as streaky players, and I think that's a fair assessment. Where her classical FIDE rating has taken a bit of a hit in the last year, but we know what she's capable of when she's on her A game. And chess is a very psychological game, in addition to being scientific in the sense that it's an objective game. But we do go through rough periods, and we're seeing a bishop versus knight endgame, Jennifer, where I'm looking for. I thought she was going to be king d3, king c4, and play b4 so she can have an outside pass pawn again.
Yeah, maybe she was afraid. Yeah, I thought that the timing was going to work out for that. Yeah, now the knight's going to go to d6 to try to keep the king out of c4, which is really important. And if they played king d3 right away, I thought that maybe we could have stopped that. But regardless, I still like white because of these double pawns and the beautiful bishop, which we saw so devastating in Katerina Lano's game. But how can she make progress?
And so g6, is she playing for f5? That's a very risky decision. It's committal on the king side. But one thing from white's perspective, how do you make progress? This is too slow. b3, king c2, king b2, king a3, b4. Like if I'm trying to push b4 through, I don't think I have all day to rush my king to a score that protects it, which is especially why we were liking king d3, king c4 earlier. I mean, you could have achieved that, and now I'm wondering. There's f5 from black. So is she going to regret this decision, Jennifer, or do you think here is different than the lock no game? We're putting the pawns in light squares, okay, as the knight is really well placed in d6.
I don't like f5 because if I take on f5 and then you play g takes f5, which happened by the way, if you play g takes f5 now, I'm dreaming of another passed h pawn. The last time, yeah, last game it was a pawn, but
Hmm.
h pawn, same thing. I can maybe play g4 and g5 and break through somehow. So I don't love that idea.
I agree with you, and I think she played king e3 just so when g4 happens, there's no e4 check. So that actually was a really smart prophylactic move with king to e3. Just understanding that black would have liked to play e4 with the check on the king on d3, but the king's no longer there, so e4 doesn't actually work out the same way. And as you point out, the outside pass pawn, whether it's an h or a g pawn, will be in white's favor as a distraction. And here is the great thing about a bishop: it protects the c4 square all the way on the other side of the board from a knight on d6. So knight, their intentions are very clear. They go exactly where they're aiming for. The bishop can use some misdirection by being all the way there on g8 and covering the c4 square from check. So e4 was actually played here by black, but I think you can just take on e4. And the difference now is if f takes e4, there's no response with the check. If you take on g4, my king comes into f4, hitting the pawn and threatening e5 check at the same time. It feels like white is just a little bit ahead here.
Yeah, and what about bishop h7 in this particular position? So she took with a knight, and then pawn takes with the idea that if king takes, bishop h7 check would have just won.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't plausible. So instead, knight to d6. Okay, but that's a good idea. Um,
I like this because you know what's the problem is you take on f5, then b4 happens. So that actually is really sneaky. It looks like knight takes f5, steals a pawn, but there are going to be lines where I just play b4 and then rush my a pawn through. It's not about the quantity of pawns in an endgame; it's about the quality of them. And so, with the potential to play b4 and blast open my a pawn and let that run free, that's why black did not take on f5 here.
and what endgame lessons we're getting today? A real master class in the power of these outside pawns in especially against the weak knight, as b3 instead was played, but b4 is always going to be a thing that you have to worry about.
Yes, and I have to note that the match clock is done for the 5 minute portions of this will be the final game of the 5+1. And I just saw another game canceled because of that. They finished their game, started a new one. But this will be the final game of the longest time control. So we're looking at this game here. Jennifer, I'm waiting to see when b4 will be possible for white. It feels like next move. Now that my king's on d3, closer to what will be a pass pawn for black once I play b4. So c4 was the choice. Oh, that's actually really smart. If you take with the b pawn, I go c5. I close down all of the action on the queen side. So I have to take with the bishop. But if I take with the bishop, then I lose my f5 pawn with the knight taking, and then I might also lose my h4 pawn.
Hmm. But then it's a race. So bishop takes, knight takes f5, b4.
Mm-hmm.
And I just worry that black's going to lose that race because it's much easier for us to use the bishop as a defender than for you to bring the knight all the way back to the other side of the board. That's why these endgames are so often great for white.
I'm with you there. And this a pawn is now going to roam free. And one other thing I will note, because I always do this, bishop on c4, a8 square, they match. And that's very important in some endgames like this, where if black were able to trade off all the pieces, imagine the board is clear except for this bishop on c4 and this pawn on a4, white would win that endgame even with the king obstructing the pawn's progress. It's a theoretically winning position. So I'm somebody, Jennifer, who always makes mention of that because I don't know, I'm fascinated by bishop and rook pawns. But I think it's important to note, especially in a position with so few pawns remaining.
Absolutely. And another fun thing to mention is that, well, in this particular position, it doesn't work. But after king d4, the move bishop b7 is a potential move because if knight takes b7, a6, and you can't actually stop my pawn from queening, that again, the knight awkward in defending against that a pawn. But the more sedate bishop e2 is much more logical. Is we're also playing king c5 and winning your last pawn on the queen side any moment we want. This looks over. White is going to win this game.
And this is why we stated that Gunya loves her tactics, but she can also play an amazing positional game. And here was an endgame grind where she should be just clearly winning this game. Bishop on, this is how good a bishop is. It can go on all on the other side of the board and still defend the promotion square. This knight on c8, on the other hand, that is not a very happy piece. So she's going to take this one really well done by Gunina in this endgame. She just created enough problems for her opponent And for Tao Wen, maybe this F5 move is the move that lost her the game.
Very instructive game, an instructive day so far. For those of you watching, you know how to win with a bishop versus a knight now. As let's take a look and see if Hou Yifan can stop the bleeding, as she did lose her first two games, but I'm feeling more promising about this game as she's got triple the time of Mamadzada, and she's also got a pretty good position, it seems like. The material is, oh, she's actually up a pawn right now as
Yeah,
well.
it's weird because this like configuration of bishops for what, I mean, the bishop on b6, like how to get here and is it stuck here? Because it's protected by a pawn, so it's not going to be under attack, but it's kind of out of the picture for now. Queen g5 has a clear threat. Watch out, don't get checkmated on g2. And so I don't want to play g3, but something tells me that queen g3 isn't going to be a pleasant endgame with just the queen captures on g3, and it feels like yeah, the advantage would shift in Black's favor. So this is more complicated, but sometimes complexity is a good thing, I ask, rather than state, because I'm not sure. Jennifer, what do you think?
Well, it's getting even more complicated as bishop takes e5. Just played f4, not on the menu because there's bishop takes f4. I really don't know what's going on here, but I'm hoping that Hou Yifan can even the score a little bit. H4 played only. By the way, I don't have favoritism. I'm just always rooting for the person who's behind to come back a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I get it for sure. And this position is, I mean, anything but clear. I don't even know how. I think that it's better for white mostly because of the clock. I'm looking at the clock ticking down, 17.8 seconds for black, and there's a big threat against this white king. So black's king way safer, but white's time, significantly more for her than for Mamadzada.
I love what Hou Yifan did to trade off those light squared bishops, because that bishop was the real nemesis where we could see all of these potential checkmates on our light squares. So now I'm just worried that for black that there's just not enough wood to make a fire here. And she apparently agreed with me because she played queen to f5, giving up on her dreams of checkmate, thinking that maybe she'll find salvation in the d pawn. But I don't think so. I think that white pawn on c6 is too fast.
It looks to be so. It's a d3. Our pawns are in equal squares, at least equally far or close to the promotion square. d2 was a big threat. She shifts her rook over. But now I love the bishop on b6. I didn't like it before because it was out of the picture. Now a4, a5, and once again, we have this protected bishop, and it's protecting the pawn that's protecting it. And so, that's going to be a really good-looking dynamic. a4, a5 here. You can give up the c pawn for the d pawn, but you have this outside pass pawn. It's not just knights that suffer against outside pass pawns. It's pretty much every piece in every position.
a5. Now, if I'm black, I'm thinking maybe I can get an exchange sacrifice in at some point. Rook a5. But first, I want to play e4 to protect my pawn on d3.
Yes, and the time is ticking for Yifan. She's down under 40 seconds. She plays rook a1, which I think is a very good move because now there are times you can take on c7, try to play a6, a7. She does that. Okay.
Ooh, because if rook c6, a7, unstoppable queen. Same idea here. Rook c6, a7, rook b8 coming with a thud. But what about rook b7, rook c6, c7, a7? Then you have rook c8 saving the day.
Yeah, and there's also d2 ideas where black use that pawn as a decoy. So now finally, Yifan has brought her king closer. I actually love the move rook b6. That was a really smart one, protecting both your pawns and then bringing your king to stop your enemy pawns. And this pawn f5, Jennifer, that's going to be a big problem for black. You may say at first glance, who cares about this pawn f5? But black wants to play king e6, king d6, and she chose to play f4, I guess, understanding that the endgame is going to be difficult regardless. But there would have been a timely rook a5 to win this pawn on f5, and then the whole pawn chain would have collapsed.
Rook b7, though, I like this move, taking advantage of the moment. Now, rook c8 is compelled because we were going to play rook b8. Rook takes f7 check. The king is coming into g4. Rook g7, king f3.
I don't know who I'm more worried for because the time situation is equally bad. 5 seconds for white.
I'm more worried for Hou Yifan now because she's shown maybe her connection is not quite as strong as Gunez because she flagged in that position. Remember a couple games ago?
She did, yes. And I mean, but by position, I'm not sure who. I think I prefer white because I like the a7 pawn. And now take on I almost blundered a rook. Oh no, you could take on e4. I blundered a rook, but you could actually get away with it because you'd f3 check afterwards. So rook, she does it, and she finds it. I blundered into a great idea.
But she's losing on time, guys. Oh no, don't do it again.
Oh my, she
Don't.
barely got the move off.
She
barely got that
barely is
move.
making these moves in time.
Oh my gosh, e6, and now she has 2 passed pawns.
Come on, you can do it. Don't flag this time. King d2, rook e6, impossible because we queen.
Oh my gosh, no, she lost in time again. Oh,
she's got it. Robert, she just can't get down to 1 second. She can't play on the increment because she's not fast enough. I mean, I'm sure she's technically fast enough, but somehow her lag or something is too high to get down to those 1 second increments.
That and rook takes e4 was like I blundered into. I thought it was just hanging for free. It ended up being a brilliancy because even though you're not taking a pawn for free, you're giving up your rook in the process. She did this so well, and she found this with no time on her clock. And there went the e pawn. And in the final position, she just goes e7, hits this rook on d8, so the rook has to move, and then you go rook f8, and you're queening your pawn. She was winning. Unfortunately for her, her connection is a struggle. So Jennifer and I will take a brief break. When we return, we will be back with the 3+1 second time control of this FIDE Chess.com Women's Speed Chess Championship Grand Prix. Stay where you are, everybody. We'll be back shortly. And Jennifer and I return with 3 of the matches, including players who have not scored a point yet. Jennifer, I'm pretty surprised by how these matches are going down. What are you making of them?
I'm shocked. I mean, I thought Hou Yifan was a huge favorite. I've seen her play such great blitz. I'm also just surprised that there's so many lopsided scores going into the 3-minute portion. But I'm also excited because it's been really entertaining. And I think that Muzichuk Vashali match is going to be really close.
So, of the matches where one player has 3 or 4 points and the other has 0, do you think any of those players are capable of comeback? I think we would say Yifan based on her strength, but with her internet connection, do you think it's possible at all?
That she's going to come back. I don't know. I think it's really tough because it's basically like she's giving huge time odds in blitz. And as we get faster and faster, I have a feeling though she's gonna have I feel like she's had a break. She's gonna be a little bit reinvigorated, and I just have this theory that she's gonna blitz out this next game. She's just gonna see how that goes. If I blitz out this game, play it like a bullet game, can I win?
When you framed it like that, I'm like, okay, if she's internet problems in a blitz and then a bullet game, there's no chance. But we'll see her opening strategy as the games are just starting off here. I see that Gunina and Tawen they're playing their game just now. And let's start with this Yifan game. Let's see how quickly she plays the opening, because I see here that we are on, we're getting a French defense, which not an opening for me. I'm going to be honest with you, Jennifer. Just I've never been a fan of the French defense. This bishop on c8. These are the best type of French defenses when people play the Tarrasch, because the bishop actually doesn't look so bad. But this French bishop on c8, it always gets me.
Yeah, man, I'm not a fan either. So you're going to get only agreement from me. That said, it can be difficult to play against, even if you don't like it. Isn't it weird how some openings you like for both sides? Like, how does that even make sense? Hou Yifan did switch it up from the Sicilian to the French in this game, as we see her struggle, the top rated player in the competition by far, but losing all her games so far today. She's just relaxing here, pretty chill position, queenside majority for white, but just so much play left. I guess she's going to fee and kettle that normally ugly French bishop.
And I'm most worried. I see her. She has 2 bars of connection, so I'm worried. This is okay connection, some lag. I keep looking at that. So as much as I want to just focus on her chess, and I'm sure she just wants to focus on her chess, she's having the same issue that I'm having. It's like every single move is played. You're like, oh, wait, is it 2 bars? Is it going up to 3 bars? Please go up to 3 bars. Please, please, please don't go down to 1 bar. And that is, I think, very important here. And she did fianchetto the bishop, so I'm actually liking this bishop, which is rare for me to say, stemming from a French defense. But the bishop on b7 is on the longest diagonal on the board. Black can play knight c6 or knight d7, depending on what white does now. And so I think that what black's position is fine here, but the 3-on-2 queenside majority in the long run tends to favor white.
Yeah, and also the thing is, there's always going to be some negatives of having your bishop on b7 too. I do think there's a possibility of white starting an attack here, like knight e5 and queen h5, and suddenly notice how all of my pieces are working on your light squares. I'm threatening h7 mate, and if you play g6, maybe I can like start sacking things, right? Because your bishop no longer defends e6.
That's a great point. That every time you move a piece, you should think about what has just been weakened, or what square is less protected, or what the differences are. And the bishop on b7, it looks great, but as Jennifer is saying, this e6 square, you're like, well, who cares if the e6 square? My f7 pawn is protecting it, but there are plenty of variations where white makes a move like knight e5, and maybe there's knight takes f7, or there's queen h5, as Jennifer was saying. So I'm with you there, that the bishop on b7 does have its flaws as well. But right now, I think that Yifan, she just needs to move quickly. Play knight to d7. Like, that's a move you don't really need to think about. She plays knight to c6. All right, similar idea, except it's on a more advanced square offering a trade. But my essential point was you just need to move. I'm worried about her time, even though she's ahead on the clock right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Bishop takes d6, obviously.
It went to 1 bar, Jennifer.
Oh, well, we know that when she's not playing bishop takes c6 instantly, it's probably not good news, right? Yeah. Because that means like that's a gimme move, right? Using 15 seconds for that is really undesirable. And yeah, poor Hou Yifan today. This is going about as badly as it can. I'm also kind of liking this position for white because what happened after knight c6 is we get a few tempos. Knight e5, and now we're gonna maybe play like queen e2 and rook d1, queen e4. Okay, she's played c4, another tempo gaining move.
Yeah, and I like your point that you initiate a trade from Black's perspective, but once the piece was captured, and it was a good example of when to release the tension. So instead of leaving the knight on c6, you capture right away because you get a knight to e5. But this position, now the bishop on b7 does feel really strong. I would not trade queens here. I play queen c7 and play rook to d8, and it feels like Black is kind of ahead in development and is better coordinated.
All right, yeah, maybe this is turning out fine for Black. Bishop f4 here. We are allowing rook d8 and bishop d6. So if Black can get all those moves in, then perhaps she's doing well. She's up a minute despite her connection problems. She's up a whole minute on the clock.
And she needs this game. I think if she doesn't win this game, I'm not going to call the match over just yet. But if she doesn't win this game, I think she's in really big trouble. However, if she does score victory from this position where she's up so much time and her position is looking good, her pieces are really harmoniously situated, just there's an easy move that you can play. Knight g4 is one move that I would consider, trying to checkmate my opponent and force her to play g3. Because after knight g4, I'm threatening bishop takes f3. I guess she can do it next move. But Jennifer, it really feels like this is the best French I've ever seen.
Maybe are you going to start playing it, Robert?
You make me laugh.
one game. So h3 played, e4.
Yep.
Now by Hou Yifan, as her French is getting more and more impressive looking, shooting the knight over to the h2 square. That is not a desirable spot. How does Hou Yifan continue her attack? I kind of want to get my queen into the game, like queen e5, bishop d6. Yeah. Or maybe bishop d6 right away. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the one concern that you have to have from the Black side of this position is that if you kind of just make normal moves, but that don't actually make inroads, that white will play knight g4 and trade knights and then get out of this. So h5 was designed to actually play in her opponent's time trouble. No, whichever queen g3 ideas now. That's what I'm looking at.
Or e3 followed by queen g3. That's why the move bishop e3 was quickly played by Hune, who now only has 6 seconds left on the clock. I think this might be the one that Hou Yifan gets it done, guys. Bishop c8, beautiful move. Switching back the bishop after the pawn on e4 blocked it.
That's actually really instructive, and it goes to show that these players, they understand where their pieces can improve. And this move b3 protects c4, but I'm looking at a3. At some moment, the a3 pawn will be under attack. Queen a5 will hit d2 and a3, for instance. So I don't like just ceding complete control over the d file, which you just did, but I'm looking at some kind of queenside play as in addition to the kingside play.
Queen g5 now, king h1, knight h5, compelling you to take that. You didn't want to get that knight into g3. Queen d4 now, though, quickly played, and that's a good move. It's a nice looking queen on d4, super centralized.
Yeah, and she's trying to encourage Yifan to commit to move like f5, which you don't want to do when you have a bishop and no way to cover the dark squares. Because when I play f5, I'm like, wait, what if a knight gets to f4 to e5? That's a very long journey for the knight. So you just kind of have to play, especially when your internet connection is not so stable. Bishop takes h3 will allow her to, oh, it doesn't. After bishop h3, there was queen takes e4 intermediate move. But I was like, looking at, wait, if I need to bail out, how can I do that? Okay, rook d8. She's playing this very well, actually. Rook d3.
Yeah, this is a great game so far. Rook d3, nice anchor square there for the rook, allowing us to take that pawn on e3. Knight c4 played, but rook e2. Oh, nice. Knight d6 now. What do we do?
I want to play e3, bishop d5, but I know that e3 could be considered a little slow. E3, e3 now. Go bishop d5. Okay, she found the right way to do this. Bishop takes g2 check. Please don't lose on time.
Knight e7 check.
She lost internet connection.
No, don't do it. No.
Oh, she got it off with 0.9 seconds.
No, stop. Oh, God. She's got to win this one.
Is rook takes g2 check? Okay, Jennifer, she lost connection. She regained connection and made the move with 0.9 seconds remaining. That was unbelievable.
She did it. She did it. She won her first game of this match.
I'm going back to that game because she made bishop takes g2 check with 0.9 seconds on her clock. Oh my
Amazing,
gosh.
amazing. You know, she was probably just like smashing it, like smashing the square, trying to get that moving.
Oh my
Ah, God.
gosh.
But how frustrating this is to play chess like this for her. It's not easy. It's not easy to play against your own clock, right?
Right.
But shout out, she got it done, and you know she stayed ahead on time the whole game and played fantastically too.
Yeah. And so, oh my gosh, start a new game. And I guess the that was crazy. That was crazy. So let's go to maybe some other games between some of these other players. We do have three other matches going on. Should we go to the Vaishali versus Anna Muzichuk game? Because
Yes, because Vashali evened the score in the first 3 minute game, so now it's a 2-2 match with another one of these. I think of Joko Pianos, the same game that we looked at from earlier in this match, with Black trying to play the move D5, and she's just done it.
yeah, so D5, it's one of the, we were talking earlier, like will white get D4, will black get D5. The problem with D5, not that it's a bad move, is the C5 square is now white's not for the taking just yet, but eventually will be. So we mentioned this earlier, right, Jennifer? Every single move that's played, you have to think about the consequence of that move. For instance, Queen E7 no longer defends the D5 pawn as well, but it puts more protection on the E5 square. So every single move, you should always be questioning the purpose of the move and what the piece was doing before it landed on its new square. So I do think that if white could play bishop e3 and trade the bishops, he'd be happy. But black is not just going to voluntarily give you the c5 square and will probably play d4.
Yeah, yeah. I thought Bishop E3 was going to be played trying to seize that C5 square, but instead a different approach by Anna, just Rook D1, staying way ahead on the clock. Big, uh, big moment here, I think, for Vaishali. I think a lot of people in chess, they tend to release the tension too quickly with moves like D takes E4. But in this position, Black does seem like they've kind of maximized their forces. So maybe it's a good moment to do it. No, she played knight H5 instead, looking to get the F4 square.
Yeah, and the rook on e6 can also swing to g6. So I think our mind is we're both in the same place here. With maybe there's some potential for a kingside initiative, and this bishop on a7 still sneakily staring at this f2 pawn. And so you make a great point about this capture on e4. Same with the capture on d5. Like capturing on d5 would have been not ideal when the knight was on f6 trying to recapture d5. But maybe now the knight's all the way on h5. It could be the time to take on d5. I'm not advocating for it necessarily, but it just goes to show you when tension exists, you should always consider the capture. You should not necessarily always actually make the capture. C4, I saw the evaluation bar drop, which leads me to believe that something is going really wrong for white. And I'm not sure what it is because that looked like a pretty normal move to me.
C4, yeah. Why is C4 so bad? Good question.
I'm looking at the
Um,
B4 pawn. That's one thing that now is under attack twice and only defended by the bishop on D2.
right, but you have to resolve the center first. So maybe pawn takes e4 first, followed by b4, because pawn takes c4 allows me that extra option of queen takes c4 defending b4.
Right. And whoa, she plays d4. Whoa, that's a so what was wrong with taking on e4? Takes knight takes b4. The d8's the rook on d8's hanging. Very simply, couldn't get away with it because the rook is hanging and your queen is dragged off the e7 square.
But I don't like the move d4 from a positional point of view because our bishop on a7 is now dead and our knight on c6 is not that great either. It did hop to b4, but I think we can just play queen b1, and it actually feels like that knight is going to be a tactical target because I'm threatening things like knight takes d4, winning a pawn because I'm playing bishop takes b4 next.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you here. And actually, now that I'm reflecting, and this is why actually having the evaluation bar is very tricky for people who are watching. Like, wait, oh, black was winning there. I think what was probably good, and I only am thinking about this now because I saw what the eval bar said, was some kind of rook f6 threatening rook takes f3, like something like that was probably what was good when the bishop was open on the diagonal. Now the bishop is closed. These ideas are still in play, but they're not as significant. So I actually really think that that was the case here. B6 closing off this bishop, then knight takes c5 is tactically just very strong for white. So I think after b6, black may even sacrifice his bishop on b6 because if you play bishop b8, knight takes c5 here, you're just down the pawn.
Yeah, and it just looks so beautiful for white because we're also going to prepare c5 and c6 in some day. And this happened, by the way. Knight takes c5. And instead of taking with the bishop, actually, she just took with the queen, thinking the end game is just going to be totally dominant. So queen c6. But yeah, it looks like Anna is very likely to win this game. Can Vishali in some way try to mix it up? So hard to do, but I rook g6, queen e6, just go for something weird. Right? That's your only shot and she did play rook g6.
Nope. And I would play knight h4. Great move by Anna because
Mm-hmm.
I was anticipating the same thing that you were suggesting, but it kicks the rook off the g file. And we talk about how strong knights are on f5. And I would also play c5 because if black could have put her bishop on c5 before that pawn got there was a possibility that white would not have been able to make progress. That's the thing is you're up a pawn, you think, oh, I should just be winning. But no, if you can't push your pawns anywhere and there's all 8 pawns remaining for white, where are you actually making the progress? So we'll see white try to play on both sides of the board, at least I think, from this position here.
Queen
Okay.
a4 played, knight g7, just trading off the queens. But how do we get? It's kind of like this knight on h4 needs to reroute itself to b4. Like that would be a great square because then we'd be looking at playing c6, and we'd also be looking at playing knight d5. So it doesn't take that many moves. Knight f3, knight e1, knight c2, knight b4. That's what I want to do.
I like that. I also like playing f4 now that at some point now that black's been f5 because if I can take the d4 pawn with my rook, then my rook gets to d7. So f4 kind of undermines the black center. And I think she'll play f4 now, is my guess. There it is. Yeah, your idea was really good. I actually like the idea of rerouting the knight. And wait, the white king is kind of in some danger now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that I guess that's the one drawback of this. But knight f3 trying to cover some of those squares. But you're right, it's suddenly a tiny bit nerve-wracking.
And the clock is nerve wracking for both players here. I can't look. I'm afraid they're going to lose on time. But this king, it goes to e2. It's escaping to d1, and
Mm-hmm.
it made it. It's made its way.
Yeah, now rook g4 blocking some of the action there. And this should be really easy now, right? We're up 2 pawns all of a sudden. And the rook being extra passive on c8, Anna's gonna get this done, barring some, mouse slip or time disaster. Rook c7, bishop to e5, not even a threat of bishop takes c7, funnily enough.
Those are always the most frustrating positions where you don't even have a threat despite attacking a rook. And bishop c7 can win at any moment. She instead brings her king in. Rook takes d6 would
Yes,
win, and then bishop c7 still. She
bishop
plays it now.
c7 anyway.
Bishop
And
d6 check, and she's going to take the rook. Got it.
yeah, and it's not just that we won the rook; it's also that we still have that beautiful pawn, and she's going to resign now, and she did. Anna Muzichuk retakes the lead in that match. Let's see what's going on in Yifan's match, and she won again. Robert, she won 2 in a row. So now she's on a roll. She played the French again, and we didn't obviously get a chance to see the game, but I wonder if it was another last minute victory with a second on the clock. I think we're going to see a lot of those in this match for both sides. Okay, so what's going on in the opening though? Bishop to f4 just played. Is this? I have a bad feeling about this position for white because the analysis bar and also just bishop g2, knight c6 coming in. It looks really dangerous.
Yeah, I honestly thought that my eyes were deceiving me with that evo, but it's because the black king is in the center. And even with like b4 is possible here, you have to consider that because if queen takes b4, there's knight c6 with a fork and the rook on a7. So this rook on a7 is incredibly misplaced. But if you let black off the hook here, let's say black is able to castle and you don't find the tactics, then you've let black really out of this. So yeah. So I think that a move like b4 or rook to e5, it's one of these moves, Jennifer. I'm not sure which one it is, but it feels like that's the move you need. And look at the eval bar drop after knight c6. Like a natural move.
Rook d7 played, attacking the queen on d1. So where do we put it? f3, e2. Probably one of those. Probably e2.
Yeah, f3 looks more advanced, but then there was bishop to b7, pinning the knight. So queen c1 played, but this is exactly what I was talking about. It looked so good for white, and it was so good, but you make like a single inaccuracy, and then black is able to counter very quickly. So
yeah, it's all about those just that one little tempo move, right? And castle's played now.
Oh, but then it's shooting back up. So
Um,
it's
oh,
really
because I think it's this potential of harassing the queen. Bishop e3. You can't really hold on to the b6 pawn
right.
because queen b5 a4. So
That's a
instead, she's just jettisoned it with queen h5. But hey, that pawn looks healthy enough. Bishop takes b6, knight g4, h3. There's nothing to be scared about.
yeah. That's the thing, right? It looked like a good practical choice by Yifan, but objectively, her position is very bad now because you lose that pawn on b6. She takes on e7 first. I actually really liked the presence of the knight on c6. The bishop on e7 wasn't doing anything, and yeah, it somehow feels like that capture wasn't the most precise. Look at this. If this bishop comes off the board, the light squares around the white king are going to be very vulnerable. I don't know, Jennifer. Something about this, it feels like you had to be super precise. And the knight on c6 blocked the bishop trade from being offered. So, Jennifer, can't hear you. Oh, you're muted. It's all good.
Saying something very, very brilliant and insightful about the position, no doubt.
I was like, okay, I feel like you're like I wasn't looking at to see if you were talking, but I was like, it's a long silence here. I was waiting for you to chime in, and then all of a sudden I'm talking to myself. So I'm glad to know it wasn't you ignoring me.
So let's take stock here. White's still up a pawn, right? So that still should be good. Bishop c5 idea is not possible at the moment because of queen takes c5, right? But if that queen gets shut out, that will be a threat. Queen d5 check, king h2 played.
Yeah, this knight d7 attacking the bishop, trying to get knight e5 into f3. It's looking scary. And look at White's time. Gunay Mamadzada's been playing a great match, but now all of a sudden she's the one in time trouble game after game. And so Black can play f5, f4 type ideas here. I'm starting to appreciate Black's position more and more from what was a really terribly played opening and mishandled. So, and all right, now Yifan is thinking. And she plays knight f6. Didn't like that move. She had to play aggressively because she's down a pawn.
Yeah, yeah. This is going to be really dangerous for her, but she is ahead on time yet again. Queen f3 played, maybe h5, h4 is on the menu. The problem is there's always that bishop g5 move.
Ooh, oh, rook e6. It might be setting up some kind of knight g4 check, or maybe knight e4 here saves the day. But either way, I was really just saw this. I was like, uh-oh, here come the rooks under attack. But knight e4 does deliver a fork at least. And rook d7 also possible, just trying to save the rook by attacking the queen. And Yifan, I think she should play with the momentum here. Rook d7 is a good move. And, oh, that's frustrating.
Queen e3 played. White would just love to trade queens here, but no way, says Hou Yifan, as she's played queen to h5, threatening knight g4, quick f3, preventing that forever. Now rook c8 played. B4, I like that. Just overprotecting that bishop.
I'm waiting for the chat to scream clock because I'm looking at Gunay Mamadzada's clock here, 6.8 seconds left. And Yifan, she's the one now going after this king. E4 was a brilliant move, just trying to open things up.
Brilliant, because if takes, we had knight g4 check again. So she had to play king g2. But now there's all sorts of fun ideas for Black. Knight d5 at some point is in the position. Okay, well, she took on d7, so that's no longer in the menu. And now actually, it kind of looks a little like equalish because we are down a pawn, but we are likely to regain it like in a situation like this, right? So now the pawns are equal and there are perpetuals in the offing sometimes. But if I like anyone, I still like Black because of that a pawn.
Yeah, it's an outside pass pawn. Queen e6 check will be useful just to bring the queen back. Okay, queen b3. I got scared for a second. I was like, queen trade, you can't queen trade with his a5 pawn. But oh my gosh, the king's on h3. So the black king makes it the center more quickly. What a transition.
This is losing for White. You always have to be afraid when you trade off queens, guys, because The margin of error is so thin. And look at this. This king is just getting in too fast.
Oh, and look, it goes to e3. Play f5 here, you win the f4 pawn. Play b4. If you're a Gunai, play b4, hoping for a pre-move. You know the position is completely lost. You just have to play b4 and hope that she misses.
Good point. But it's a matter of when. Maybe now do it. She's not doing it. She doesn't know your tricks, Robert. And look at that. It's 3 in a row for Hou Yifan. What a great comeback so far. Can she make it 4 in a row? Well, she just played e4. Will she continue with this queen takes d4 Sicilian stuff? By the way, I did peek on the game, Robert, the last one that she won with white, and she did not get a good position. She won the game, but her opening wasn't good. So she decided to switch it up slightly. Similar concept, though, getting this Maroxy position, but she doesn't have to take with the queen here. She could take with a knight.
Yeah, and I just flashed the Anna Muzichuk win over Vaishali. So Anna Muzichuk is up 4-2, and now Yifan with the white pieces. It's an even match. I asked you beforehand, like, does she have a chance here? Like, is it even probable? Is there any chance? Clearly, she's right back in this. Her internet connection still is not very stable. I think we see that game after game, 2 bars of connection, but her play has certainly improved. And we have to give Gunai Mamadzada credit because not only was she benefiting from some of the connection issues that Yifan was having. In that first game, she won an exchange and converted that one. So it's not just about the internet. Gunai Mamadzada has been playing a very good match thus far, but with the stability, without having to worry about the connection, I would be concerned now that Yifan has won 3 games in a row.
Yeah, somebody in chat said she reset her connection. Not too bad. Perhaps she has won 3 in a row. The first one, she's still in some time issues, but I always found these positions very difficult to play for black, where white kind of gets this nice space advantage. But I feel like it's good that we're trading off a pair of pieces here for black. It makes it a little bit easier to navigate the position.
Yeah, it's when you have less space, trading pieces actually is helpful for you because your pieces are competing for the same squares. So here's a good example: it's a knight on d7 and then e5. They may be competing for the same e5 square. So if you could trade off this knight on e5 for this knight on c3, then you're having more space for your remaining knight. And the white is not having the same problem because look at this Maroxy bind. We've seen this many times today. The pawns are great here, stopping black from breaking in the center or on b5. This knight can come to d5 at some moment. If you play e6, your d6 pawn becomes weaker. So I always have preferred these positions from white's perspective, just because it's easier to play. And anytime black touches a pawn, if you touch the e pawn, the d pawn is weak. If you touch another pawn, like, you're creating problems in your position. So knight c6 was eventually chosen by Gunai. What do you think about this one, Jennifer?
Yeah, I totally agree that it's very difficult because it's a position where you just kind of have to wait back and see what white is going to do. And so it's uncomfortable to play for the black side. It just occurred to me, like, if somebody was playing this in hand and brain and they said pawn, like, what would you even do?
It's a great question.
Maybe you'd have to play like h6 or something. Oh, maybe b6. I don't know. It's a tough a5. I don't know. They're all bad. They all create weaknesses, right? Like, you're right. Every pawn move that you make, it has a huge disadvantage. Whereas white can play for a4, b4, f4, and maybe they'll overextend themselves, but they're not immediately losing because of it. Knight d5, though, is often the idea here. Thinking that if you play e6, you created a weakness for yourself and we're okay losing that tempo.
Mm-hmm. And this is a position where oftentimes an individual tempo isn't so important. It can be if black is able to play e6 and d5 and then break the position open. But typically, because white has such firm control over pretty much all the squares on the board, that you aren't so concerned, like, oh, does h6 happen where my bishop is under attack? It's not the biggest deal in the world. I will say that I find the best way for white to play this is often to do quote unquote nothing. That sounds weird to say out loud. But if you just kind of move back and forth and you wait for your opponent to start playing ambitiously with a move like b5, for instance, often backfires. So you have to time things correctly. But if you play f4, g4, things like that, you were kind of hinting at this, Jennifer, white can overextend. And then when there's a breakthrough, you've pushed a little too far. F4 is fine, but don't go all in.
Yeah, it's just in the poker channel, right? But speaking of going all in, I mean, there are some players who are close to just winning all of their games. Katerina Lano 7-1 in her match. Valentina Gunina 6-1 in her match. So some tremendous performances. And it turns out that this is going to be the close one, Robert.
Yeah, this one and perhaps Muzichuk versus Vaishali, depending on what happens in this game and the next few. But it seems like Lucknow and Gunina they've locked up their first matchup in this round of 16. So credit to both of them. Gunina, who lost the final to Ushanina, and Lucknow, who lost to Ushanina in the quarterfinal. It's a good showing from the Russian players in their opening match. And well, you're right. This is the close match. Queen to d2. The pawn is on e6, so d6 is a weakness, but the rook comes to c6. Oh gosh, e5, another issue. The knight on d7 is not protected.
Yeah, that looks like a great move. But wait, okay. I'm trying to see if I have some tactics here with like takes on e5 and takes on f4, but they didn't quite work. I was trying to make them work. So instead, the passive move, but perhaps necessary, bishop f8 was played.
And I think you just bring the next piece into the action. Knight to e4, pile up on this d6 pawn. It's just a lost cause at this point. And it just reminded everybody that you couldn't take on e5 because the knight on d7 was hanging. Jennifer made a great point that sometimes you can take on f4, but the problem here is the rook already protects his knight on c3, so you're not actually winning any material down here. But that's a tactic you always have to be alert for. Knight e4, queen d8, and here comes just, I mean, what do I take with on d6? The knight, I think that makes sense. This is no fun.
Yeah, that's for sure. Knight f6, at least trying to get in knight e4. But queen d4, shutting that down. The most beautiful square for the queen that we could imagine. And it can't be, that's the thing about the queen on d4. What's so nice about it is it just can't be attacked, right? You just don't have the right pieces for it. And now even playing like bishop d2 to c3 creates another potential avenue of victory for white.
Yeah, this d6 pawn is a pass pawn and one that's going to be a thorn in black's side for the rest of the game. But it's not the, queen takes h6. The queen is attacking f7 and h6 at the same time. Rook f5 only covered one. Here comes bishop b4 with the mating threats on g7 and h8. I think you can just probably take on e5 and be up 2 pawns, but maybe there's something a little more precise. But I think that c5, she plays that right away. Oh, this is.
I like c5. And rook e1 is coming, and you just can't defend this position. Rook h5 tried, but queen f4, knight d7, and rook f1 threatening queen takes f7, mate in one. Forcing queen f8, but now we can also play rook e7, just pile up on that f7 pawn. It's not fun if you have to play rook to h7, that's for sure. Queen h4 threatening queen h8 mate.
Yeah, this is a pretty brutal queen h7 checkmate.
And there it is, checkmate. She actually resigned before white got to play it, and that is 4 in a row for Hou Yifan. Wow. Let's take a look at Anna Mazuchik's game, because Anna's got 11 seconds on the clock. Whoa. And it looks like a time scramble. And one extra pawn for Anna. Now there's 2. Sorry, I miscounted. Just 1.
And okay, it's a position where it's even now on material. And well, what's going on? It seems to like white's position, but also white's time is what I like. Rook e2, mate. Watch out. Knight g3's only move, but rook g2.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, she walked into a checkmate.
What do we do? He was forced to give up her knight. Oh my gosh. Look at that mating net.
Oh, that's brutal. She was up on time too, and this is going to be a very close match. It's only going to be a 1-point match heading into the bullet.
That's right. This was such a crucial victory for Vaishali. Now, she hasn't won the game yet, but
she missed checkmate in one move. Rook g1 was mate, but she played knight to d3. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is strange, but hey, she got it done, Vaishali. Now we have time for another game here.
No, they just restarted, and then they're gonna be canceled.
All right, they didn't notice yet.
Yeah. No, we do have this one final game though between Gunina and Tao Wen, but the Gunina already up 5 points, and her position is good with the 2 bishops in this endgame. Jennifer, it's been crazy thus far.
It has. I'm glad we got a chance to witness Hou Yifan's epic comeback, but how is she going to do in the bullet? That's going to be tough.
Yeah, with internet connection problems, playing bullet chess does not seem like the best thing to be doing, but it may be the bravest thing, and it's the necessary thing because she has no choice. She's in this matchup. She's only up 1 game. She will have to stabilize that connection as she goes into the bullet. And for this matchup for Tao Wen, her Grand Prix leg will be over. It feels like even if she wins this game and is down, well, she's probably not going to win this game. But even if she does, she'll be down 4 points in a 10-minute 1+1, 10 minutes of 1+1 chess. I don't think there's enough time mathematically for her to mount a comeback.
Mm-mm. And the question is, you talk about winning this game, but it's actually Valentina, with these 2 bishops, who's going to try to win. I don't know if she's going to be able to, but I think she'll try a little bit.
Well, if she knew that we have a break coming up after this, maybe she would do us a solid and then just offer a draw, because at this point the match is in her hands. But I will say she should play on, because she has the bishop pair, and this is actually not very easy for white. You think about like a king d3 type of move. Well, you can't go king d3 anymore. You can't move the knight because c3 is hanging. It feels like black is making progress.
Bishop c3 has to constantly be checked, because if bishop c3, knight c3, d4 check takes on c3 and king f4.
Oh, actually, now, especially now that you put h4, I really like that idea. So don't play bishop a5 now, because there was knight c6 check. So
okay, good. Don't do that. Well, Valentina would still be up 5 points.
She went bishop d8, knight c6 check.
You called it. You jinxed her.
I know.
Wow.
I feel bad. I
don't feel that bad, because she's still up 6-2.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jinx you.
But it doesn't matter how much you're up by. You do not like losing to a knight fork. It's not a fun thing.
And it happens all the time when you're, getting towards bullet time controls. Knights are so tricky. Oh, I feel bad. The knight was pinned too before she moved her bishop away.
Yeah, I think that's what got her. That's what's got her. The removal of the pin confuses people. But it's good to see these players in their human moments, because of course a knight fork is one of the most missed tactics at all levels, and it just doesn't change. It just becomes a little bit more complicated or time scrambly the ways that it happens. And here we have it, Valentina still going into the bullet with a 6-2 lead.
She does indeed. And well, I'm going to have to take a break so I can no longer curse the players. But when we return, we will have the bullet portion of these opening round matchups in this FIDE Chess.com Women's Speed Chess Championship Grand Prix. Stay where you're at, everybody. We'll be back shortly. And now we get to, some of you may find it the most exciting part of the match is the bullet. There'll be time scrambles. There will be blunders. There'll also be some excellent chess despite the limitations on the clock. Jennifer, we have two matches that are probably decided 8-1 in Katerina Lochno's favor. Well, that one's certainly decided. And Valentina Gunina probably also, that's going to be a Gunina win there. But two matches that are 4-3. So let's talk about those two. Anna Muzichuk, Hou Yifan up one game apiece. Do you think that they're going to win these matches, or do you think Vaishali and Mamadzada will strike back?
I think they both have a good chance. Mamizada simply because of the time issue in the bullet. And let's just get right into that match and see how Hou Yifan fares in the bullet. She has actually won 4 games in a row, all of the 3-minute games. We've seen her play the French. We've seen her play the Sicilian. Now some combination. It looks like a Maroczy bind, Paulson variation.
Yeah,
D4 coming. This is weird because she's usually played like the white side of these types of positions in the match.
I was about to say that Mamadzada may have seen what was happening when she was blushing. Hey, that looks pretty good for white. Let me go and play this myself. And typically, it's pretty easy to play these structures from white in a bullet game for these very experienced players. You go queen e2, you go rook to d1. Watch out for knight to d5 at some point. That may be a possibility. I'm not sure if she's wait, she's probably thinking about it. She plays f4 instead, but there's sometimes where you sacrifice a piece with knight to d5, and I would consider it, but probably not do it, considering that you are down one game and losing the game could be disastrous.
B4 just played. Okay, allowing queen takes c4, but that would allow knight d5 discovery. So rook c8, of course. So you find to not play that and say she's angling perhaps to play queen b8 and get that queen out of the x-ray vision of the rook on c1.
Yeah, and g4. I mean, this is full steam ahead over here. G5, F5. I could see white just pushing all of her pawns. Maybe an F6 in the future. She's going right for the attack. Queen takes c4, you know, is a consideration, but you also know that knight d5 is crazy tactics, and you will likely have to give up your queen for some of the pieces. And sometimes that works out for black, but most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah, it has to be carefully calculated, and bullet and carefully calculated don't go together.
No, they certainly do not. Knight back to g7. I'm waiting for f5. It feels like f5 has to be the move in the very near future. Out of the corner of my eye, I'm just keeping an eye on the Vaishali game that's on a Muzichuk. That one seems a little tamer than this game, so we'll stick here for now. Wait, there has to be something on e6. I mean, f5 is such a risky move to play. What is happening here, Jennifer? I mean, pieces are traded, and I'm worried about e6, but the knight on g7 doing good work for the moment. I don't know.
Yeah, knight. And just look at the clock now, 11 seconds to 24 seconds. Bishop d8 just played, protecting that pawn on e6, which I like, because queen g4 hitting it was definitely on the menu for white. Plans for white, knight e2. She's trying to get her knight to g3, I think, but first she plays bishop g1.
And did you see that move, king h8 to g8? That didn't look right. I think she's just making quick moves, Yifan, but she actually has plenty of time, and now she's losing d6. And once she loses d6, no, that's it. This is going to be a win for Mamadzada. I feel pretty confident in saying that. I know you should never feel confident in bullet chess, but look at this. Queen to d2, a queen d5 check, pawn to c5. Just keep it going. Bishop to d4 actually would have been checkmate if the king moved. Oh, okay, this is now an endgame up a clean exchange and a pawn. Mamadzada's evening the score here.
Yeah, well, she does only have 7 seconds left, but there is that increment. It should be enough, as Hou Yifan really did focus on the clock in this game, but you also need to get a good position. As rook f1 played h4, h5, g6 is coming, and there will be a second pass pawn in the position quite soon. That's the problem.
Yeah, and the f4 pawn's not even under attack because as soon as you leave this bishop on c7, my pawn will go to c7 and then push to c8. So also, yeah, you just probably bring the king in. She's bringing it over.
But look at this. She's gotten down to 2 seconds left on the clock. I don't know when that happened, but she is down to just 3 seconds. So she can't hesitate at all.
And no, she just pre-moved that rook to c1. That's a very safe move. It's smart. If you're going to pre-move, you want to pre-move safe moves. Like that, your opponent can't even do anything tactically to counter it. A4 pre-move because she gave a check and she attacks his knight. She steals a knight and she's back at 6 seconds. She has this one.
Yes, okay. This one, and now I agree, 6 seconds. It's over, and it will be a tied match. 4-4.
Crazy stuff. Let's switch back to the Vaishali against Anna Muzichuk because that one's down the stretch here. It looks like Vaishali is, I don't even know if she's better here, but the knight against the bishop, I tend to like the knight in these type of endings.
Yes. I like the knight. I like the knight because there's not a wide spread of pawns. So the short distances of the knight can kind of cover more easily than if that were like an A pawn.
Right. And another good thing for white is that this H pawn doesn't match the bishop. So even if I lose my knight for the C pawn, it's still going to be a theoretical draw. And I know players don't often think about that when they're looking at a position like this. But if you have that in the back of your head, it allows you to take some risk. Wouldn't normally take 1 point. Anna Muzichuk lost in time.
She flagged Anna Muzichuk, who, by the way, has a very low bullet rating. So, I mean, because she's obviously got a very high blitz rating and FIDE rating, but maybe bullet is not her cup of tea. And will this give Ashley a chance to take this match from her? I think she's going to get better in bullet as the match goes on, but that first game, not promising for Anna Muzichuk.
No, indeed it was not. So we're gonna start. We can start here. I'm keeping an eye on the Yifan Mamadzada game as well. But Vaishali evens the score. We have two matches at 4-4. Vaishali and Mamadzada, the lower rated players in their matches, they both won the first bullet game. And what we see here in this game, Anna Muzichuk, solid position from the white side, a bit more space. Black will have to consider to play D5. Would you play D5 at some point, Jennifer, or would you kind of avoid that just because it opens things up and is riskier for a bullet game?
I think I would play D5 at some point. Yeah, it just seems like a move we need to play. And there it is, D5, because it kind of weakens two of white's pieces. It gives your bishop on B3 less scope and your knight on C3. So I like making two of your pieces worse.
Seems reasonable. The bishop on E6 is kind of like a big pawn, but it's a very solid foundation to black's position. And you're right that at some point, white really wants to play C3, move the knight, play C3, bishop C2. But especially with this queen on B6, hitting D4, the C pawn can't move anytime soon because there's a knight there, but also because the bishop needs the defense. So I think that white feels very stuck here.
Yeah, I hate that bishop on B3 and F6. What a nice move. Looking for another way to get aggressive, in this case on the D4 pawn. And also we've got our rooks lined up in these nice files as black E8 and F8. Queen B4 just played. Not sure what that does yet, but it's a fast move and she needs to make fast moves as well. She is down 10 seconds, Anna.
Yeah, I was actually about to say that there's compensation for this bad position and it's on the clock. And that's huge in a bullet game. And look at this, queen back to B6. I don't think that was her intention, was to have knight A2 and then move your queen back. And she was trying to make quick moves, which is smart, but she's under 20 seconds left. Now, this is a problematic situation, I think.
Yeah, H3, H6 both played. I would love as black to play queen C7 and find a way to get into G3, but there is bishop F4. So she's just slow playing it with rook E7.
And here's bishop F4. The move. Oh, bishop F4 walks in, and bishop D6. She walked into it, putting her rook on E7.
So that made things even worse. Oh,
Oof.
no.
And that this it's a clock situation, right? She didn't have enough time. She was moving quickly. And now finally the bishop is free. We talked about how C3, bishop C2 wasn't possible. Now it is because the queen had to retreat to D8. And here white's pieces are free.
That's right. And that knight's going to come to F4. And
oh, gosh.
Knight G6 is coming. You can't play bishop F7 because of queen H7 mate. Okay, what do you do here?
Just now you win the rook. You've won two exchanges. Move your queen. Take the knight on E4. Or she's going to take on E4 with the rook. This is very smart. When you're up a lot of material, you often sacrifice some of it back. She doesn't do it yet, but I'm expecting some kind of rook takes E4. There it is. And now she's up a clean exchange. We can't go rook F8. You blunder your rook there. I was going to say rook F8 threatens mate on H7. She plays rook E1. She'll play queen to E8, I guess.
Yeah. Still just totally questioning because if the queens come off, rook E7 and rook E8 is going to be goodbye. And yeah, really nice performance by Anna Muzichuk here. She's going to be up a point after this.
I'll give Vaishali a quick shout out because bishop C7 was incredibly smart by her. She's going to lose this game anyway, but she had lined up her queen and her bishop on C7 and D6. So in case Anna Muzichuk made some other moves, she would have been checkmated. So
I like that too. That was a good bullet trick.
Yeah, it's like you have to make the most of your chances. And I think often people don't recognize the chances they have in bullet. And Danya Naroditsky has taught me a lot about when to do certain things in bullet. What's going on here? A pawn is suddenly very powerful.
Yeah. Speaking of which, not giving up and going for this idea here seems well, okay.
Wait,
We should be okay, right? Now we're just
oh, king b2. Wait a sec. What's happening here? How do you stop this a pawn?
let's
You just
see.
sacrifice your rook. Oh wait, no, she blundered bishop a3.
Oh
Oh my,
no! Wow.
Vaishali. She is so resourceful, and of course, Anna Muzichuk had this game in the bag. But in bullet chess, you make one little mistake and the thing turns around completely.
And I don't understand because the pawn started on an a5, but it got to a1 so fast. How'd that happen?
Oh my gosh, the bishop was such a bad piece to try to stop the pawn because it couldn't get around. And she went bishop b1 and the king to what is this? We're seeing a Dutch now. Okay, I didn't even too much going on. So we have the matchup between Yifan. Yifan has gone back ahead. So Vaishali is taking the lead in this one. It seems like Yifan has taken the lead in her matchup. Where do we go? Both matches are very close.
Let's go to Yifan
This
because
is this is the last game, Jennifer. Oh my gosh, this is the last game. So Anna Mushak needs to win with black, and Mamadzada needs to win with white in this game. So we're gonna have to
wow,
switch
that
back
went
and
by
forth.
fast. That this is the last game. Oh my. All right,
Oh,
let's see. I like Hou Yifan's position though. Very solid. Hard to find any weaknesses in her position, and she's up 15 seconds on the clock. It's very promising indeed. H6 played, bishop to f4. Now we're going to try to keep things interesting. I'd love to play a move like, okay, well, she played bishop to d6 and now bishop h6.
I was highlighting it. I was letting you speak, but I was like, oh wait, watch out for bishop h6. But they trade the h pawns. Who's that worse for? I feel like somehow black's okay, but it looks scary for mutually scary without the h pawns.
Yeah, but this was well calculated, I think, by Hou Yifan as I agree. There's all these pieces coming off the board, and there's no attack here whatsoever for white, no advantage. Black's probably better because I think the bishop is stronger here.
Yes.
Um, and all she needs is a draw at this point.
Yeah, draw odds, safer king after king g7, rook h8 coming. Okay, black is just better here. So let's go back to the Vaishali game is on the Musa. That one is crazy. Let's go there. There's a
Yes,
king on
okay.
f6. What's this
There's a
king
king
doing
on
on f6?
f6, but there's not that many pieces to attack it.
Oh, but this is a better endgame. Okay, that's why she didn't trade queens. The endgame would have
No.
been better for black because of where the rooks are. So actually trading queens could get white in some trouble. Instead, we see the queens remain on the board. And I honestly think that Anna Muzic, this is weird to say, is playing too quickly. She's up 25 seconds. But we saw in the last game, she was up some time and then things went wrong. Like she had a little bit more time to spend. She's not used to bullet. So she's moving instantly every single move where that doesn't always have to be the case.
And now she's traded queens in a must-win situation, but she does have that more active king and the extra 20 seconds. Rook b3, b5, a4. Charlie needs that draw.
Oh, this is dangerous. The king is more active, so she doesn't trade the rook. So, but the black king is closer to the center here. Oh, and you can't go king e2 ever. But she sacrifices the b2 pawn because the f2 pawn's also hanging. What's going on here, Jennifer? This seems like good winning chances for black despite the even material.
Yeah, good winning chances considering the clock situation, especially. H5 played 6 seconds left for Vaishali. That's the problem. F3 now, and I don't like these pawns coming off though for Anna's chances.
No, I don't either. And she plays f4 if she doesn't take. So that if she took, she lost b2. So she keeps this. I guess black can't really make progress somehow. Okay, king e6.
Yeah,
She
I
lost the
think
tempo. So if king rook a3, there was king d4. So that's actually kind of smart. She goes rook e4 check. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it here. King d5 and rook takes b. Somehow you have to take on b2 and then try to get your king to e3. Like you have to go for. Wait, this is a dangerous decision by Vaishali. Very dangerous decision. Now a4.
oh yeah, this is much scarier now.
And I think
Okay,
she
because
gets
it has
away
to be
with it.
so well calculated. You got to know that you can queen those pawns to counter the a pawn that's ready to go forward.
Oh, that was well done. Rook takes a2 at the
Yeah.
right moment. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
Vaishali is holding here. And Hou Yifan, she drew her game, so she moves on to the next round as well. Wait, How did white just get a? I turned away for a second, and white has a queen.
Wait, what? Wait, the rook didn't sacrifice to.
I guess a draw is the same as a loss because of the
Yeah,
match
yeah,
situation.
okay. Got it.
Yeah,
And there we have it. And white has the winning end game now. Queen versus king. And Vishali
she
won
wins.
the game in only draw would have been enough, but she won it. And she now has 6 points, ending the match, 2 points ahead of Anna Muzichuk. What a match.
That was a crazy comeback there by Vaishali. Anna Muzichuk was up 4-2, and then we saw Vaishali take away, run away with this match. Let's go to the next matchup. They've already started. We have, for example, Zansaya Abdulmalik taking on Daisy Corey in probably my favorite matchup of this opening round. But you can take us anywhere, Jennifer. Let me know.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow those games because we've got Irina entering the fray as well. Abdul Malik, that's a great one. And Desi Corey, why is this your favorite match? You think it's going to be super close?
I do. And Zansaya struggled against Anna Ushanina in the first leg, but I think that was just a bad match. It's out of her system. And Daisy Corey is super talented, and I would say probably a dark horse in a sense. Not that I don't think she's going to win the Grand Prix leg, but I think she can take down a couple of these opponents along the way. And she's very talented. She's from Peru. She and her brother, Grandmaster Jorge Corey, very talented chess family. And I think that just maybe she's a little overlooked given the grand scheme of things and how many strong players are in the field.
Yes, yeah. So let's catch up with this game. The first game of their 5-minute match with equal material. Again, we're getting this theme of bishop versus knight, and one thing you have to look at is the knight on a good square? It is. Are there pawns on both sides of the board? Yes, that should favor the bishop. But after g6, I got to ask, f6, how do we get that bishop into the game? It didn't matter because she just took on g6. Probably there was going to be a g5 type idea.
Yeah.
To save the bishop.
Yeah, and the bishop is saved, but we've actually made a pretty big concession. Now our pawns are split. So I'm not, the bishop is good with pawns on both sides of the board, as you were stating. But now with the split pawns, that's kind of a concern for me. And do you play h5 and just say, all right, I want to keep my bishop on g6 where everything's defended? No, I can't play h5 because my rook on e3 is under attack. So that means I either have to take your knight on f5 to remove it, or I need to move my rook away, but then I run the risk of losing this pawn h6. So it's a tough moment here.
Yeah, rook e2 now played. And like you said, knight h6. And then the question is, if we double those rooks on the 7th, what's going to happen? And here we see, that's a beautiful background. I love that. Look at that background that Desi has.
Yeah, Daisy Corey has an amazing background. She was playing in many of the qualifiers, and I commented on that quite regularly. It's like full-on chess theme virtual background. You couldn't be any more prepared for a WSCC match than that.
I love that aesthetic appreciation, Robert. Love to see it. But in this position, I don't know if this has turned out so great for her, has it? It's these 2 pawns that Abdul Malik has seem like they're going to be punishing.
Yeah, there's 2 of them there, and you're only 1 pawn on the queen side for black just yet, in g4, h4, h5, but it's not so easy to push all the pawns. That's the struggle that white will have, especially against the bishop. Because if you ever play g4, that bishop comes into e4, and it's not just on the good square, there's like mating nets. And we see bishop d3 played. I think h4, though. I would start pushing my pawns.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what to do, you do know. You don't know what to do right now, but you do know that eventually you need to push those pawns. So why wait? Go, go, go.
And also a huge lead on the clock for Zansaya. She was h3. So she gives her king some space to run, but I don't know if it was entirely. That's one of those slower moves that you may regret later in. I mean, I'm not saying h4 was necessarily great, but it just feels like h3 not entirely in the spirit of the position.
If I can take you to another game between Irina Krush making her debut here versus Sarah Kadim of Iran, we've got a situation where black has the knight and an extra pawn. Wait, something has just changed because I thought black was totally dominant, but Now things are looking a little less exciting with those minor pieces being traded. I liked having the black knight for Irina because it gave her such great chances.
Yeah, and this is an example of where pawn quality can offset pawn quantity because this a4 pawn is very strong, especially helped by this queen on c7, and this king is actually quite vulnerable to many checks. Queen e5 check may land a perpetual at the right moment. So she's pushing her a pawn directly. Wait a
What's
second.
wrong?
Yep, queen c3. And I was about to say there must be some way to stop the pawn, and then a7, a8. There's mate on h8. Oh my gosh, black was better this whole time, and now black is lost because
Oh,
a8 equals
gee.
queen. Oh my gosh, that is the tragic
Oh,
turnaround.
and she had to resign. Irina, gosh, she was doing so well in that game. I thought she was going to win it, but starting with a tough, tough game. But this is one of her good openings. I really like the way that Irina plays against the Nimzo. She is good with the two bishops. She's good with the space. So let's see if she can come back from that unfortunate start.
Wow, that was a crazy finish. I was just looking at sort of checks and the fact that Black's king was immediately in some trouble. I didn't see the exact conclusion, but I just had this like instinct of wait a second, there must be a way to check that king. And then when white queens, there's actually a follow-up threat. That's a really tragic way to lose, and it would happen to anybody. And it just doesn't feel good, especially in a relatively short match. You don't have that much time to play catch up. So losing the first game is painful, but I like her position for sure here in the second game. I prefer having the bishop pair, and she handles these positions very well, as you've said, and has done so for many years. So we'll keep an eye on this. But is there another matchup that maybe we should turn our attention to?
Sure, but let's just take a quick look at this. What just happened? CD5, knight d5, and queen b3. So black trying to open up the position while Irina's king is still in the center. I love the concept, but it doesn't seem like there's a way for her to put any her foot on the gas because those pieces on the queen side are underdeveloped.
Yeah, you can't really attack when your pieces are on the starting squares over here. You'd love to play like f5, but now that I played bishop e2, think about what has changed. There's no longer a pin on this e4 pawn. Back goes the knight, but look at this queen side. I mean, you're not actually threatening anything. Your pieces are all just they're present, but they're not threatening anything. And so I think that white has a very simple advantage here. You can play bishop e3, finish your development. She does it. And what's black's plan, Jennifer? I can't even come up with one really.
Yeah, no, Irina loves getting the squeeze on in these positions. And by the way, like in terms of titles, Irina, the Grandmaster title, her 23-year-old opponent is almost 2,500 FIDE rated, but an IM and WGM, an incredibly talented player, higher blitz rating, but Irina just has such great openings and positional understanding. I wouldn't be surprised to see her keep getting good positions, but unfortunately, sometimes in the time scramble, she's going to end up faltering like we saw last game.
Yes, but it is good to see her, get out to advantageous positions where, like you said, in the last game, she was up a pawn, she ended up blundering in a time scramble, and that could be her downfall. And for Sarah, she's an amazingly talented player. She's pretty much a grandmaster, except a couple of rating points away. Um, I believe she has all her norms, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but she's very close to the grandmaster title as the essential point. And so she is incredibly talented. She's a sharp player, and I do not think this is the type of position that she wanted from the black side here. White controls the entire board. The bishop on f4 is coming into d6. Just the dark square control for the side with the dark square bishop, and you're the only person with that bishop. This looks very tough, and it's going to be tough for a long, long time.
Now, what about the in-between moves type stuff here, like knight f5, bishop f5, bishop d6, and just try to like win some material?
Yeah, and I guess unfortunately, because the queen on b3 is a little loose, that when you do some of
Yeah.
this, there's a queen e6, a very timely move. So when you take on e6, I take back with my bishop, and I steal two of your minor pieces for just my rook on f8. So I'm keeping my eye on that too, Jennifer. I'm like really trying to see how is that going to work. Maybe there's a knight b5 or knight f5 at the right moment, but sadly for Irina, I don't think she has it quite yet. So instead, she plays a4, trying to play a5.
Yeah, nice line there. I like that little switchback tactic. Goes to show that those loose pieces are often a way that you can get in a key Zwischenzug and stop a devastating tactic. So A4, nice move by Irina. Still really like her position a lot. Like you said, there's just nothing great to say about Black's position.
Yeah, it's one of those positions where you're like, can we restart? Like maybe I'll give you two tenths of a point already. You know, I'll give you like or two, like you get 0.2. Just take it. When then we'll start again. And even if I make a draw, you still get more points because I can't handle this position. It already feels really bad for Black. The one active play maybe c5, and now might be the time to do that because White has just put her pawn on a4. She chooses queen to c5, which is also active, but it stops a5. That's the one good thing that it does here. But does your queen really belong on a5, Jennifer? It feels, I don't know. It feels like I'm stopping your threats, but not really creating threats of my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Very passive situation. Like I said, I mean, I used to play the Nimzo Indian, and if I had Black against Irina, I would start to cry. I'm like, she knows how to play this opening, get a little space, squeeze you, don't give you any active play. And masterclass here. Like I said, the openings in the early and middle games, Irina, you're not gonna have to worry. It's just that blitz time control is sometimes hard for her. So we'll see. And we've got so many great matches going on, Robert. If you want to potentially move to another one, we've got world champion Zhu Wenjun. She actually lost her first game to Olga Giria. So tough start for the women's world champion.
And a tough position to boot. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you mentioned the scores. Like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Maybe she'll come back here. But with the black pieces in this position, your king wants to go forward. But then I'm looking at knight f4 check, which will allow me to capture. When she plays it, you're going to see this line unfold. I'm going to play knight f4. I'm going to capture your bishop on d5, leave you with an isolated pawn. And at the end of this all, my rook is on c7. It's the most active piece on the board. And here this is all happening. And I think White will play king d2 after capturing the bishop. Keep your king in the center where your king wants to go. King d2, king d3, king d4. March that king up. In the end game, the king is an aggressive piece, not one that needs to be shielded.
Yeah, absolutely. Can White win this? Do you think that Hou Yifan's, sorry, not Hou Yifan, do you think Zhu Wenjun has a chance to defend this?
I think from a practical point of view, it's like one of the more hopeless positions in a blitz game. However, because Black's ideas are pretty easy, you just have to defend. Like you're not going for a threat. You just need to protect the pieces that are under attack. Maybe sacrifice a pawn at some moment to get some counterplay. I think that she needs to play quickly, and she's not doing that. I was about to say I think it's relatively easy to play as Black because your position is so bad. That sounds counterintuitive, but she's not spending time here, and I think that's just hurting her because she's down a minute on the clock. In addition to having a bad position.
And for those of you who are just joining us, we did see an epic comeback from Hou Yifan in the earlier days match. She started out with 3 losses in a row. Looked like she might lose her 4th game on time as well, but came back and won by drawing the game point game.
I forgot that she almost flagged in the 4th game where she was completely winning, and she made that move 0.9 seconds. But I'm glad you reminded me. So I still have like this visceral reaction just hearing about it. I'm still nervous, like jittery. That was one of the craziest moments I've ever seen because we were like, oh, she's about to win. Oh, her connection is gone. She's back. 0.9 seconds. It was a hero's return, and so Yifan, she deserved that victory with that comeback. And her opponent hung in tight, Mamanzada, but unfortunately for her, she's playing the former women's world champion and the highest rated women's player in the world.
All right, where do you want to go now? Some action in Irina's game again, as God, her position just looks like really promising right now. But the move a6 has just been played by Sarah. Queen takes c5 played, thinking that if a takes b5, a takes b5, and you are going to lose that knight on b6.
Yeah, the queen being so misplaced on it. Maybe knight takes a4 though, because I know my knight's under attack as well. So I'm trying to help myself by taking on a4 first, just to hit your queen. And there's a lot of weird pins here.
Oh yeah, knight a4.
And played.
Huh.
And time trouble ensuing for Irina as well. You mentioned how she gets these good positions, then the clock can be her biggest nemesis. I think the clock is already playing its part because she started moving perhaps a little. She actually didn't move quickly. She spent a minute on queen takes c5, but now after knight takes a4, she's spending a lot more time. She doesn't have time to spend here, Jennifer. This is really feeling like it's turning around for Black.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the thing. These tactics, you need time And Irina got that great position, but tactically missed knight a4 potentially. And now she's played queen to c7. So she is attacking the queen. So you don't have time to take the knight on b5. But after, queen takes c7, knight takes c7, that looks good actually
Yeah.
for white. So what does black do here? We can't play takes on b5. We can't play queen b5. Queen c7, knight c7 looks promising. So she chose to play queen b4,
That was
protecting the knight on a4.
both by you and by Sarah. That was amazing process of elimination. I promise you, queen b4 was not her initial intention, but she did exactly what you were just stating with your commentary. You're like, wait a second, queen c7, knight c7, that looks good for white. I can't really move my queen anywhere. b6 looks wrong. And so then she played queen b4, and that was the best move, it feels like. And now she can just even take on b2. I'm saying that with a lot of hesitation. Like, can I go knight takes b2? I want to do it, but I'm not sure I get away with it.
Because you're thinking like a rook b1 or something?
Yeah, like a rook b1. She takes the queen on b2. Oh, because if knight a4, there's queen takes e2. And if rook takes a4, there's rook c8.
Rook c8,
wow,
yes.
Crazy. Sarah is alert with these tactics right now.
Yeah, and then I'm scared about.
No,
and now
that's a blunder.
Bishop a2. Was that a mouse slip?
No, I think she forgot the bishop was there. She
Oh
forgot
boy.
the bishop was in e6.
Oh boy. Bad start for Irina. Let's move to another game. There is a time scramble in Olga's game against Zhu Wenjun. We were looking at earlier. Remember, that was the one where Zhu Wenjun was struggling in the rook endgame, and the struggles have only gotten more severe, Robert, as now white is up that beautiful passed b pawn.
Uh-oh. Well, now that it's off.
But it's gone.
Yeah, this is theoretically drawn. I mean, this is a rook in 4 versus rook in 3. And if they're on the same side of the board as they are here, almost always it's like a theoretically drawn position. Not that it's easy to defend, but with precise play, optimal play, it should be a draw. Now, Olga Giria should play this game out, although she doesn't have much time. But this is what Zhu Wenjun did. She salvaged this game by getting active, giving up a pawn in the process, and then now we've whittled it down to material that's not exactly plentiful.
Very well done by Zhu Wenjun. What a hold. And because she's also got the extra time, it's going to be hard for her opponent to do anything here. Olga Giria can try, but looks like Zhu Wenjun's got the plan down. She's just so relieved to get into this position.
I would be.
But what about this rook e3 move? I mean, I wonder if like the pawning game is drawn now because you'd be getting those double pawns. Maybe it's too risky, but no, she did it. She calculated it. She thought it was right. King f7, and it's going to be hard for white to make progress because once we get our king to e6, what do you do?
Right. Actually, I was starting to wonder, like, can black try to win this game? And it sounds ridiculous at first, but there are end games. Well, that's a good move. But there's sometimes where the black king just sits in front of these double pawns, and then black wins one of them, and there's some danger. But here, that was very smart to wait. This isn't so easy. King d5. Wait a second. King c4 and king to d3.
Oh boy, something went wrong for white.
Oh
king c3 now, and we're getting in. King d3.
Oh my! So maybe
no, but you king d4, you lose because we've got the opposition.
She not only saved this game, she won. If we go back in time to where this position was at on move 15 or whatever that was, it looked hopeless for black, and now she's winning. King g3 and the h pawn.
Because we are getting, if you could get your king to f1 in time, it would be a draw, but you can't. And there it is, Zhu Wenjun.
Oh
what a comeback, not just for the draw. We were praising her on the endgame draw. I mean, how do you have that 4 versus 3 endgame and you think like, okay, this is going to be tough to draw, but I can do it. I got more time. And then all of a sudden you end up winning the game.
This decision here with rook e3, you were, kind of like, well, you could probably just take it. And she took it and she won because of, no time for white here. This position e5, this probably should be a draw. If white plays e4 here, that black king is not getting in. So she should have played e4 instead of king e4. And king e4 actually caused her problems because now it's opposition and white has to move. Wow, that's just, you don't expect to see that ever. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's still a draw or not. But regardless, it's way too much work for white on 0 seconds. And that actually shows that rook e3 was a judgment mishap. Right, because even you said like after rook e3, pawn e3. Wait a second, I can imagine some positions where black's actually winning, and You certainly don't want to walk that tightrope.
You do not. Let's go to the matchup between Ushanina and Harika Tronavale. We haven't actually seen their games. Ushanina won the first leg of the Grand Prix. In this matchup, she's currently tied 1-1. They've drawn both their games. I'm trying to wrap my head around what just happened because it's shocking. The position that Ju Wenjun started with to winning that game, that happens because Giria or whoever it is, let's just say anonymous opponent, you play for a win and you don't turn that psychology to maybe I should be a little bit careful. With her rook e3, she's like, oh, I'm up a pawn, I can just trade, and she had no time to calculate. But I think it was a psychological loss more so than a like chess over the board loss, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's so instructive, you know? Like I can't tell you how many times I tried to simplify something when I was better and it ended up backfiring, right? So yeah, you just want to, in that situation, you want to just like move that rook around, get some more time in your clock. Don't do something so committal.
Whew, whew. I'm still trying to kind of catch my mental breath about what just happened. So here in this game between Ushanina and Harika, so take on d4. So, I mean, now the knight is welcomed into c6. That's kind of scares me. I
yeah, exactly. I also find that scary, but clearly she has a plan, right? So after knight takes d4, knight c5 was her idea, okay, and then she can maybe cover her light squares after the queen drops back. That was the point.
But b4 is also a threat in addition to knight c6. I feel like
True.
She released the tension too soon because now white feels perfectly coordinated
here. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any tactical way for me to threaten something like e5. Like if I play queen e8, b4, trying to make something work, but you're right. This b4 idea is quite irritating. So she played bishop d6. That does threaten the move at e5 now.
Right.
So you could start with b4 anyway, though, right?
I would. And the question, I guess, is an essential question is how do we feel about bishop f4, gf4? Because by playing b4, we're allowing that capture. I think that actually helps white because e5 is such a useful move for black in many variations that just because the pawns on f4 is doubled, it's not actually weak. My king is still well defended over on that side of the board, but she takes on d6, which probably is the more practical choice, all things considered.
Bishop d6, queen d6, b4, and now where can we put that knight? She did put it on e4. I'm just a little nervous.
Rook c6 is also. Oh no, this has to be. Just, I mean, isn't rook c6 winning a piece next move?
Yeah, that's why I didn't think knight e4 was possible. Maybe it didn't matter though. Rook c6. Is there any tactical idea for us there? I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to like this knight will be pinned, right? So if like
right, exactly. That's why I was like trying to see if we can play like queen e5 and rook d8.
Yeah.
But we really want our queen somewhere where it doesn't block the e pawn, right?
So I mean, queen takes b4, like rook c6, queen b.
Before rook a6, rook d8.
Okay. I'm going to show it on the board. I just found a way that she's going to play it. So queen b4. This actually might just happen after rook a to d8. After rook a6, she'll play e3 because I'll just put it on the board. The only way to break this pin is by e5. But you have this amazing move, rook takes f6, where if you take with a pawn, I escape with a check with queen g4, and I'm probably going to mate your king. And otherwise, I just stole your knight. So I'm up 2 minor pieces, and you can only regain one of them.
Great line. Queen b4, rook c6 on the board. And so we're going to see now, I mean, white hasn't taken the bishop yet. And in fact, he's played rook to b1.
Interesting.
But now there's queen a5, rook a1.
So she wants the a4 square for the rook to protect this knight, I guess. Interesting choice. I think the same tactic will exist. Like if you take on a6 with this rook and play e3, you will still have rook takes f6 ideas. And so I think maybe that's what she needs to rely on. But it's hard to visualize because you don't think about rook takes f6 until the pawn moves to e5 because rook f6 is never an option. But we're actually probably going to see this e3, I think is the only move. And let's see what happens after e5. And now
e5, rook a5, okay. And now...
The only reason rook a5 was possible is because she started by giving up her a5 pawn. So she actually gave herself an extra option.
Queen d6, rook a6. Now, where's that queen gonna go? Is it gonna go back to d5?
Probably. And then will she play rook takes f6? Or was she bring the other rook to a5? Maybe she brought the wrong rook down there.
Maybe. Yeah, she can always change her mind. She can play queen d5, rook a5.
And a big problem for black is after the other rook comes to a5, you can't keep his e5 pawn protected. So queen d5, rook a5, your queen has nowhere to go to keep it safe.
So no queen d5. Let's play queen. Well, if we play queen e7, you have rook takes a7 with a check to the queen, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want that. So what do we do? But she has played queen e7. Okay, and now with rook a7, she's planning to just play what? Queen c5?
Or maybe queen e8. Some kind of. I mean, she is now winning this knight back, so she has accomplished her goal. And so queen c5 looks reasonable. Yeah, she plays queen b4. Wow, that's. I mean, she's getting adventurous with the queen in ways that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it's so fortunate for white. I mean, for black that knight c6. All these ideas never work because you get to play rook d1 with check. Exactly. You know, imagine if that rook were on f1 or if the king were on the second rank, everything would be so different here. Rook to a4 played, so she keeps chasing this queen.
And it is hard for black to realize where does this queen belong, because you can go back to e7, right, where you came from, but every single move changes a little something here and there. So rook a7, you can repeat. Will she bring this? She hasn't touched this rook on a1. She had an option to play rook a1 to a5 before. She didn't do it. So I guess she just doesn't feel super confident in the position.
And the repeating moves, it looks like.
H3. I like that.
Oh, no, they didn't repeat moves. Okay, so white did differ, although now it is even material. Nice queen on d4. I would prefer to play white, but is it enough to win?
Probably not, because how I envision this game going is rook in 3 versus rook in 4. We've seen a little bit of that. We just saw a game like that, because even if I pile up all the pressure and win the e4 pawn, it will result in so much liquidation with the pieces coming off that I think that it's still going objectively to be a position that black should hold. So queen c4 played. I like keeping more pieces on the board for now. White's king is very safe. The bishop, not doing all that much because the e4 pawn, but you can put pressure on that e4 pawn. But as mentioned, it's just not going to amount into anything very severe. Just
do you want to switch over? Do you want to switch over to the Abdulmalik and Corey game, as it's quite interesting position, which is 16 seconds left for Corey, but she's also got a 1.5 lead in this match so far. So lots at stake here. Knight c4 is just the move played. Note that g7 mate threat is well protected by the knight on e8. So Abdulmalik, how do we increase our attack? I would love to play knight f4 to h5, but right now my bishop on e5 would be hanging.
It looks like knight c4 is played just in time then. And both sides in time trouble here. Black's pieces are actually in superb shape. Oh gosh, like, do I play bishop to e4? She does it, and that bishop comes to d3 now. You can't play rook to b1. Your b2 pawn's under attack. I can play e5. It feels like black just unleashed her pieces and should be much. Wait, the nice trap. Oh no, it's f3.
This is all black. That beautiful bishop on e4. We just also won a pawn. We clipped a pawn, and we've got the better pieces. And she's actually ahead on time at the moment. e4 played.
I mean, this bishop on d3 is
blockade the pawn, but f5, g5, just kind of try to bring another one in.
Jennifer, this bishop on d3 is one of the most annoying pieces you could possibly see, right? It's just, you can't dislodge it, and if you capture it, you just give black another passed pawn. And here they go.
Look at those pawns go. Ooh, they're having a good time.
Knight e4. Oh gosh. F2 check. Oh, okay, we can play it next.
This little triangle formation is not something you get to see on that side of the board very often. But wait, what just happened? Does it matter?
Oh, that was big. That was a fork.
Yeah. What's going on now? Is black still winning?
No, you also have pawns. How did it happen?
What? She was just totally dominating.
I turned my head away for a half second.
Oh, and again, another fork.
Oh Robert, my gosh. This is incredible.
Because rookie 4, there was a knight d6 check.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
boy. This
How
is demoralizing. Oh, 2 seconds to 2 seconds. But she was doing so well in that game. And now it is an even match still, though.
oh my
Even match.
and the time is we need this game will be canceled in a second. We need to go back to this game because before we take our break, what just happened here, Jennifer? We saw the pawns on d3, on e2, and these are menacing pawns. What? So takes f2. Oh gosh, she just missed that 97 check was a fork. So probably she showed an f2 before taking on d3 because that way you check and you actually just promote right away. You can get a queen. So she missed that in time trouble. And then 97 check, well spied by Abdul Malik. And then all of her pieces, she just blundered her. Oh, because 96.
She missed another fork. So it was one fork leads to another.
Oh my gosh, this is why we keep talking about knights being just so tricky. And what a save there by Zansaya. She would have been down 2 points. Now it's an even match.
That always just to know how matter miserable your position looks, keep fighting, because in those transitional moments where you actually have to win the game, there are so many mistakes that could be made, even by some of the top women players in the world.
Well, what a game that was. What matches we have, actually very close matches across the board here. None of these, matches where somebody's unbeatable. So we will return in a few minutes, and we have so much fun left in store for you. We'll be back shortly with more coverage of the FIDE Chess.com Women's Speed Chess Championship.
See you guys soon.
we bring up the leaderboard to remind you that Anna Ushanina is in first place after the first leg of the WSCC Grand Prix. So she's in a tight match right now against Harika Dronavali, who has yet to, this is her first matchup in the event, but it's good to know where people stand and what's at stake here. So Jennifer, when you look down this table, any names that we should keep an eye on?
Every single one of them, Robert. This is like the polar opposite of the first half of the show, where almost every match was a wipeout. As it turned out, the Hou Yifan and Musichik matches were pretty close, but they started out lopsided. This is the opposite. And now as the time controls get faster, I believe we're going to see at least one super lopsided match before the bullet. But which one's it going to be? I don't know. The Corey Abdumalik match really fascinates me, as does the World Champions match.
Yeah, it's only one match has a leader, and that currently is Sara Karem against Irina Krush. But that match can go either way because we've seen the games go back and forth, where Irina is maybe one mistake away from being even in the match. And so that one's a toss-up, and all the other ones are completely level at 1.5 points per side. I don't know what to make of this. Anna Ushanina is the winner from the first leg. She is playing Harika, who's, it's her debut. So it's hard to know where people stand when they're just making their first introduction into the WSCC. But that matchup also feels very close, where Ushanina saved that game where she ended up pinning Harika's knight. So I'm normally the person who makes bold predictions. I'm like, this is who I think is going to win. But as I look from matchup to matchup to matchup, Jennifer, I have no freaking idea. So I will leave the predictions to you because I'm just not
okay. Sure. I'll do it. I'll go there. Say Ju Wenjun, Sarah. I think Irina's going to struggle in the faster time control. I'm going to go with Desi and Harika versus Anna. I don't know. I'll go with Anna. So those are my picks.
Okay, I actually have, I would say, 3 of the same picks as you. Ju and June, I'm going to go with her. I feel like she has to be the favorite. She is the high-rated player. I'm going with Sara for the same reason that you stated, because of the time control. Like, it's getting shorter, and that, I think, plays to Sara's benefit. And I think Irina does tend to, make more blunders than she would, of course, otherwise. And the one matchup where I guess I'll disagree with you is I think Harika against Anna Ushanina. I know Anna won the first leg of the Grand Prix, but something tells me that the Indian Grandmaster Harika Dronavali, she is going to take that match.
And we're off. The games have begun. So where would you like to start?
I don't know where, because all the matches are close.
Let's start at the one that we have a disagreement over, Robert. Let's start with Anna versus Harika.
Okay, here we go. And we already have an interesting setup. And this is what Anna Ushanina does time after time. She loves playing d4, knight f3. She typically likes the London system, but her opponent played an early c5. So she stole the pawn and went c4. And this is a bad sign for Harika to be spending time here on move 4. That's typically a sign of a struggle.
Yes. Oh, that is good for my prediction. By the way, I gotta give a shout out to Chadok, who says Harikaru. When you put it that way, she's looking better and better. Robert, as of course Hikaru, the brilliant blitz player. Harika, I've gotten a chance to call her games in many Karen's Cups as well. She played in both, actually, and she's also just an awesome ambassador for the game, I have to say. She's so eloquent. So really nice to see her here.
Yeah, she's been doing a lot of work I've seen with Samai, the stand-up comedian from India. He's Samai Raina. He's been doing a great job promoting chess. In fact, they have a comedian chess match that I saw has just been advertised. And so she's been doing some work with him, and she's just such a great person. She's really kind-hearted and is a great ambassador for the game, especially in India, where it's becoming more and more popular, thanks to not just Vishy Anand and let's say Vida Gujarati, but also because of Harika and Humpy Koneru. Some very talented players abound in India.
That's right. I'm missing Humpy Koneru today.
Yeah,
I guess this is her leg off.
Exactly. I was gonna say she's taking the day off, then I realized no, she's not just taking today off. It's the entire leg. You play 3 out of 4. So taking the leg off sounds like an exercise routine where it's it's a cardio or an arms day or something like that. But she's out for this one. She'll be back for the remaining 2. And Harika, she just stole the pawn on c5. So she regained the material that she was down. And is black going to punch through d4? That's the idea you always have to consider in an IQP, isolated queen pawn position, is can black get away eventually with his move d5 and d4? And if you can't blockade it for white, then you certainly are no better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that Black's done adequately in this opening. And this move A3 strikes me as unfortunate. You know, it's a little it's a little luxurious considering that we're not castled yet and that D4 is going to be coming in with an equalizing opportunity pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, actually, d4 right now looks incredibly strong because you have to do something about it. And I have 3 pieces defending it, and you only have 3 pieces attacking, but defending. So you have to capture first. So d4 should be played here. We didn't just do a count where eventually a black bishop would end up on d4 there, and with a bishop on d4, are you kidding me? Couldn't ask for a better start to a game. So she plays it, and the one thing that Anu Shinina has going for Jennifer is the time.
Yeah, this is the reason I don't like A3 because I'm feeling like if I were castled and had the move knight C3 in here, I could cause you some grief with a move like knight E4. But now my knight's still stuck on B1. I don't have anything fun like that.
Yeah, and the extra time is about to be gone because it's only 10 seconds, now 12, 15 seconds. But black's position, I think, is just better here.
Oh, yeah.
You're much more active.
Bishop F5 can be played here, threatening knight E2 and bishop D3.
Ooh.
Like, what do you even do against that? And she's switched at the move order. Probably she's going to play bishop F5 now. Oh, no, she played bishop G4. Also, a nice idea. We've got the 2 bishops, and yeah, black's better, but how much better? I don't know. I mean, we just play knight C3, try to hang tight. Rook E8 can be met. Rook E8, what do we do there? Do we have to
kind of queen C4 hitting both bishops? I guess it's tricky. This bishop takes F3, so it's not very clear. But I liked your idea, Jennifer, with bishop F5. I think that was a little bit better to keep the tension alive and force white to trade with you, and that would have improved black's pieces. She brings her queen to B5 rather than C4, and this bishop is under attack. The B7 pawn is under attack as well.
So maybe bishop B6. In the other case, with your move with queen C4, you attacked both bishops, or you kept an eye on both of them. But instead, Harika went for this idea: bishop takes F3, queen C5, bishop C6. Now we've got a bishops of opposite color situation, but I don't think black's really better anymore. Are they worse after rook d1? That's the question.
I think you can play knight e4 or knight d7. I was going to say just to trade queens in a fancy manner because you would have given up your queen on d8, but your knight would have won the queen on c5. This is definitely worse for black because of now your double pawns, but it's not that big of a deal because they're hard to attack. So white is better structurally, but how to actually make inroads is a totally different question.
Well, she's played rook to d6, and now what? What about b4? No, she's played rook d1. At some point, we have to make luft. And she did it with f3, nice, because it prepares king f2, and it stunts that bishop on c6.
Right. And the knight on c3 is such an important piece. It's essential, really, to white's positions, covering the e2 square. So the rooks look great on the e file, but they're doing a whole lot of nothing thus far. This is good technique. H4 is a good move. Eventually, you might want to consider g4, but not yet with his bishop on c6, staring at f3. But g4 will give you an outside pass pawn at the right moment.
That's right. Rook 1 d4. The idea of rook f4 coming into the position. Rook e6 played instead.
I think this is a clear example of where you don't take the rook on e6 and undouble black's pawn. So she ended up trading on d8 instead. And here comes the knight. Without the double rooks for black, one rook was traded. Now the knight can reroute itself to d4. Jennifer, this is getting better and better by the move for white. At least it seems like that to me.
Yeah. I'm impressed by, because a lot of people would have been tempted at some point to play like knight d5 and, just make sure you have a slightly better position. But instead, she's played f3 and she's kept the minor pieces on the board. And now look at this knight on d4 and that potential of it to go to f5.
It's definitely a good piece. King on f4 now. G4 will always come to my mind, but I understand not playing it too early. And rook d4. So the rook now for black is attacking multiple pawns. I see a mating net if I can, somehow get a rook g8 check. There's a rook h8, rook h6. That would be a checkmating net. So how do you make this work? B3 is tempting, especially she brings her king up. I think she's gonna play B3 though. At some moment. What do you think, Jennifer? Is G4? She finally played. Okay, so I'm worried about this black king.
And H5 check followed by knight F5. Of course, our knight is currently pinned, so we can't play it yet. King F5. Maybe king has to go to G3 or E3 just to play this move knight F5. Knight F5 check, though. You said it. Whose favorite move was that?
Anna Cromling.
Yeah. And Ben Feingold also likes to call it knife to F5. That's unforgettable, isn't it?
Yeah. And knight takes C6.
Knight takes C6. Okay, yeah, nice little simplification here. And now we're just, white wins, resignation by Haruka. Tough game, though. Very interesting one. Haruka really got a great position out of the opening, but after some missteps, Anna just played really well.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
It was a position you couldn't even pay for from the black side initially, but then you play a little bit too slowly at a given moment, and she actually traded pieces and allowed white some more freedom, and then Anna Ushanina played very well after that. But the knife on F5, you're absolutely right. Once you get a knight there, it's going to be pretty much all over most of the time. And Emery Tate, he was somebody who you saw, once he got the knight to F5, you were like, this is going to be devastating for black. And okay, we have a position here where, and we had this earlier, right? This exact type of position we tuned in when white went queen A4, rook F to C1, and that was the game with B4, B5. So here, instead of playing an early C5, Anna Ushanina plays rook to C8, and now white plays B4, saying, you're not playing C5. No, ma'am, not for you. So I kind of like white's position at the early going here, but should we take a look at some of the other matches? I see Irina tied the matchup, and that means she won her first 3+1 game.
Yeah, wow, that's impressive. I thought we thought that she was gonna get. I don't want to say we thought she was gonna get wrecked because we would never put it that harshly. Irina is obviously a legendary player and a beast in so many aspects of the game, but I was expecting this to be tough for her. She did win. And now she's playing with the black pieces here, and it looks like she's got no issues.
Yeah, this is a solid position for black. We see the isolated pawn again. We've talked about the problems with it. It can't be protected by another pawn. Wait, what's going on? Massive trades about to happen. So, knight takes C3. I was like, wait, if I take on A5, that's bad for white because I take on D2 with check, and then I yo-yo my bishop back to A5. But that's why she took on C3. And you have to take on C3 again. If B takes C6, knight takes E4 wins a piece for white as the queens hit each other and the knight will drop back and capture on D2 if you take on D2. So queen takes C3 played. And maybe this isn't as good for black as I initially thought because the endgame just looks like a clearly better one for Sarah with the white pieces. Right, like you just blockade the pawn here and go after D5, and the bishop on C8 will never have a. Honestly, it's a position that Irina thrives in from the white side, not necessarily the black side.
Yeah, this is an unfortunate transition, and she does have the edge on the clock, though, so I am happy about that for Irina because I wasn't sure that was going to happen. So bishop E6, don't take on E2 right away. She's trying to hold off making that move. Rook C8. I like this. Unfortunately for her, there's not really any tactics per se in the position. I mean, I would love to play something like knight A2 and, save the day, but rook C8, rook C8, rook A2, and rook C1 is not checkmate.
It's close, but the bishop can drop back, of course. No, it's a good tactic to look out for, though, because I think people forget this A2 pawn is what? It's not. You're not going to take that. My rook's here. But with back rank checkmate possibilities, you should keep an eye on them. So rook C7, king F1's a good move. The problem for black is we're talking about is you can't take on E2 without allowing this knight on D4 to sit here forever. That is a knight that's on a dark square against a bishop that's on a light square, so it can't compete with that knight. And so the bishop has nothing to attack. Oops, sorry, that was me taking the bishop on E6. I was just trying to circle the knight around the bishop, saying the bishop can't attack anything. The knight can just sit here for as long as possible, and eventually you will be able to maybe an F4 and push some pawns here. Not a fun position to have from the black side. Even if objectively it's okay, it just feels awful.
Yeah, A6 played. It's not very fun to play a move like that with your bishop on E6, but I have to say I do like that Irina's avoiding releasing the tension. That's important. A lot of people would have taken on E2 moons ago, and their position would be even worse and clearly worse. She's avoiding that, and eventually Sarah just said, "Okay, I'll just play bishop F3," but that leaves that strong knight on C3, which gives Irina something in the position. Wait,
Oh,
what happened? Rook A. She finally got this
she was
rook
able to play knight A2 because the rook on
A2.
C1. Yeah, the rook on C1 was hanging there.
But is the knight trapped after knight
A5.
C2?
Free the
Okay,
knight. She does it.
A5. She did it. Now she's
Wow.
getting her knight out on B4.
You know what's funny? I didn't follow my own advice. I should have followed your advice. You said knight A2 a long time ago, and it wasn't just about the backlink checkmate. There just were so many tactics, and knight A2 would work out. And I forgot about it, but Irina certainly didn't, and she found a way to go up a pawn here. But time, I'm always worried about her clock. And the knight on A2 is now trapped, which means bishop B1, and now we are king C2. But I like bishop B1 as more forcing. I
I
think
like that as well.
we're gonna see a knight trade on C3.
Yeah, so she's gonna have to give that up. Okay, and we're gonna get a draw in this game. It looks like, huh?
Although Irina's spending a lot of time here.
She does only have 6 seconds.
Okay, but if you take on B3, I don't want to say that there are no losing chances, but it feels like a position where you really should not lose this from black. Your king is more active. And I think white should start pushing these pawns. There it is. But F6 is a good move just to stop the forward progress.
Yeah, this looks like it'll be a draw. Do you want to skip to another game? Maybe the Abdul Malik game? Every game we look into this game in this match is always wild.
What is
This is a
happening
good
here?
one.
Oh,
This does not disappoint. Bishop F4 played though. Our king on G1 is pinned. I mean, our bishop is pinned, but there's a queen G4 check.
oh, you could take on F4 now. You could take because the I know the bishop was pinned, but that was check on the king. Okay,
I see. So bishop F4, queen G7.
exactly.
And what happened?
She lost. Yeah, Abdul Malik.
One on time. Okay.
One on time.
Yeah, after yeah, she couldn't figure out how to stop that threat. And by the way, Abdul Malik now with a 2-point lead. So she's actually won two of the 3-minute games in a row. And I said that one of the matches was going to be lopsided by the time we got to bullet. And well, Desi, hopefully she can prove that she's not the one, but she's going to need to win this game.
Yeah, and I switch on over to this game between Ushanina and Harika because it's pretty wild right now. We just tuned in and Harika sacrificed a bishop on F7. This king is going on a ride up to D6, but I'm not worried about the king getting checkmated. I'm just worried about it getting checked infinitely.
By the way, huge news, Robert. Somehow Irina actually won the game.
No way.
That we wrote off as a draw.
What?
Oh, there was just a blunder of a bishop to a simple check.
Oh,
what a shocker. Oh boy. Do you see that final position, Robert? If you just go back, bishop D3, allowing bishop G4.
Yeah, that was painful to see. I mean, new games are populating in every second. And by the way, Ushanina won her game. She moves up 2 games as well. But that was an unfortunate tactic to overlook. I can actually try to pull that up real quick for Sarah because her position was totally fine. And then here, putting the bishop on D3, position's already getting tough for white. But allowing the check, the king has to move, and then you lose his bishop on D3. That's a sad one. So which game should we go to now? Because all these matches are fascinating.
Gosh, there's part of me that wants to stay on this Irina game, partly because she is ahead of point now, but her opponent is a higher rated player. So I'm wondering if Sarah will be able to come back in this particular game. And also, not only that, but Irina is going for the attack. She's already played the move H4. She's not castling kingside. She's really going to try to extend her lead.
And she plays rook to D1, so she has committed to either keeping her king in the center or scooting it to the king side with an eventual king F1. I say king F1 instead of castle because I imagine she still wants to play G4. Otherwise, I don't fully understand why this pawn's on H4, which she chose to do just a couple moves ago. So she can castle, in which case it's not the end of the world, like the pawn's not under attack or anything, and she does so. But I'm not sure H4 is helpful in this position, and you perhaps want to push that pawn back a little bit.
Blasphemy! H4 is always good.
Oh, I mean, I never say always and I never say never, except I just said both never and always in the same sentence. So
no, But seriously, one of the problems in this position is that we can't play h5, which we'd really love to do, tickling you with h6, because there was that bishop g4 super annoying move. So instead, queen to g3 played by Irina. But yeah, it looks a little unharmonious right now, right?
Yeah, it's knight h5 is played. Where's your queen going? Is your queen going to h2, for example? That looks like an awkward square. Perhaps it's fine. Maybe queen to g5. How does the queen trade impact the position? It's a tough question to answer. She plays it. I don't think you should take, because if you take queens, I take with my pawn, and your knight h5 is often on the side here not doing well, and the d5 pawn becomes weak. So knight f6 covers both at the same time.
Yeah, and knight f4 played. Again, we're trying to gear up for that h5 idea. Knight e6 attacking the queen.
And
I guess we have to take that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can technically drop your queen to g3, but it looks a little odd. So I would take that allows the bishop to take on e6, completing your development, protecting your pawn on d5. And I think that Sarah's position is okay here. And I do want to point out something, and it's that I think, wrong with all of my predictions except for Ju and Jim. Because I'm pretty sure I said Daisy Corey. I'm pretty sure I said Sarah, and then I'm pretty sure I said Harika. So 3 of my 4 predictions are not looking very good right now, which means I was told you I didn't want to make predictions. I did it anyway. I should have listened to my better judgment.
Ju and June, by the way, that game looks pretty interesting if you want to open it up, as we've got a situation where 2 points for Olga, 3 for Ju and June, but look at this open king on g8. I mean, that's looking way too drafty. And I've also just counted the pawns as I've been talking. She's also down a pawn. White's just dominating here.
Yeah, she's down 1 pawn. It's about to be 2 because of this pawn on f5. I mean, there's so many options for white. And if you ever push that pawn, that bishop on b1, now I can just take on f5. But if you push the pawn, the bishop would have opened up against this black king. So I think this is ultimately black's best chance. It's to trade queens and pray that you'll somehow hold an endgame. Oh, no, this decision I'm not so sure about. This king on g8 is...
Yeah, like you're just thinking about whether you can win by force with something like queen h7 check and rook c7. But rook f1 was played. Okay.
Yeah, I guess the problem with ending rook c7 is that when the king would have to go to h2, there'd be some kind of queen e5. So
yeah,
this position still looks excellent. The thing is, black's extra pawn is on the queen side. It's irrelevant to your king's safety. And white can play moves like e4, f4, break open the position more. I like bishop b3. It's just keeping your bishop safe and sound away from the enemy pieces. And I mean, this is as one-sided of a position as you could ask for. Rook c7 now. Oof. Oof. Do I should take some b7 now? Jennifer, this is easy for white now.
Yeah, easy game now, and that will give us an even match. Do we have any other even matches? Well, if Sarah wins against Irina, that one will be even, as it looks like Anna Ushina and Abdul Malik are both extending their leads. Let's see about Irina's game, as it's 15 seconds for Irina and still so many pieces on the board, but she has just played rook to e5, harassing that pawn on d5.
Yeah, so I would play b4 for black because you really are trying to pile up all your forces on the d5 score. She does play b4. Abdul Malik wins another game from what I just saw. There was some conclusion there. So she's going to go up, I believe, 4.5. Oh,
but look at this tactic. Knight d5, knight takes d5, bishop d5, rook e8, but then there's rook e8 and queen f8. It doesn't work.
Yeah, this is exactly the knight takes a2 tactic you were talking about and earlier, but here it doesn't work. And just like it didn't work with knight takes a2. Because rook e8, chop, chop, and queen f8 at the end. Thank you for the extra piece.
Yes, and this is going to even up the match, assuming Sarah wins this with 30 seconds and an extra piece. Safe assumption to make, she will even up the match. We'll get another 3-3 battle.
And it's amazing to me. And it makes, of course, I'm not trying to criticize harshly a blunder because she's 5 seconds under clock. But it's really interesting that I really just understood that in the other game with like that knight takes a2 tactic. Maybe, I mean, it was a little easier to see in some senses, but we have a similar tactic 2 games in a row. One time she executes her position perfectly. The next time she just makes that mistake. So I wonder what the difference in the position is that kind of had her missing the defensive resource here. Just maybe a psychological note that I'm curious about.
Yeah, very weird, huh? I see what you're saying. And look at this now, just winning the queen, and that will force resignation as we have another tied up match. And of course, they start right away in their next game. Another just quiet opening by Sarah, not trying to get anything super crazy from the opening. She's just playing this ready style line. How do you feel about this? I know that a lot of people think this is a great blitz opening.
Yeah, I think it is. There's some lines where you just play d4 and then black ends up with this IQP again. So I tend to like it. I do want to switch the game quickly to the game between Ushanina and Harika because I see very little time on both players' clocks. And Harika should be winning this position with the extra knight. King g7 important. She don't want to allow a check and then allow the pawn to promote. So she has a knight and a rook. Ooh, there has to be a checkmate here. I feel like there has to be a checkmate against a king going up 93. She missed checkmate. She missed checkmate.
Oh, 93 is made in one.
Oh,
Nice.
no. And she makes a draw instead. She can't afford these half-point slips. Oh, my gosh. Jennifer, I mean, I'm going to go back just very quickly to the game there. She missed. This king has no escapes with knight h6 or 93 is same checkmate. You have to go f5 to block, and rook takes f5 is check and mate. She didn't have that much time, but she certainly had enough time, and she's way too strong to miss a checkmate like this.
It's always enough time to find a checkmate in one because you don't have to have any technique after that, Robert. But which one is better, chat? Knight e3 or knight h6? What's the better move?
I'm curious.
I feel like knight h6 is better because it's less obvious.
Yeah, it's more retreating. And actually, that means there was a checkmate earlier. She could have retreated knight h6 first with the king cut off on the 4th rank, going for a knight f7 checkmate. There are many checkmates here for black. I just sensed the king was in danger out on g5, and unfortunately, a huge missed opportunity for Harika. So which game should we go to now? Because it looks like Zansaya is pulling away, so we'll probably stay away from that match for the time being. But of the remaining matches that are all pretty close, where should we go?
Let me take a look at the openings. Well, the two matches that are really close are Ju Wenjun versus Olga. Let's check in on that as they're not as far along as Sarah and Irina started their game a little later. So maybe we can check in on that one later. What's going on though? We've got an end game here already, and looks like Black's got this strong pawn on e4, but they need to defend it. So I guess we better do that with bishop f5.
And it's an extra pawn. I actually didn't count. I was like, wow, that's a really strong pawn. And I was trying to figure out what compensation white had. And then I was like, wait, no, that's actually an extra pawn. So you have extra material and you have the better dynamics. So rook to a1 was played. And I'm trying to figure out, she's trying to do a rook lift, the second rook lift with like rook a3, rook b4.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, exactly. Maybe rook b4 straight away, Robert, attacking b7 followed by rook a4.
Mm-hmm. Actually makes some sense. And black will be a little bit tied down on that side of the board because that's actually, let's say you play a6, rook b4. You would love to just play rook a to b8, but then there are bishop a7 type ideas, kicking your rook away from b8, and then your b7 pawn is in trouble. So there are some tactics here that allow white to gain a pretty quick initiative.
And by the way, Ju Wenjun also has over a minute advantage in the clock. So, I mean, as the cliche goes, all three results certainly possible here. Instead of rook b4, Ju Wenjun played rook c4, which hinted at this move a6, which was immediately stopped by Olga Guria with a6 herself.
And let me ask you, Jennifer, would you rather have the extra minute or the extra pawn?
The minute. because I think that I know Yasser would be very upset at that answer.
I was about to say, all pawn grabbers, all greedy players like Yasser would be very disappointed in that.
I thought that I could get my rook to a4 and win it back, but apparently there was some maybe this idea of rook f8 was too strong, so that was also factoring into my decision. But
I was highlighting it. She walked into it and she didn't move away from it. This is the problem with having a minute less than the clock.
And bishop. But what?
People keep missing it.
No, she's gonna bishop c5. She did it finally.
Yeah, that was a couple missed opportunities, but because Olga Guria is in such time trouble, she missed it a third time. But still, black has plenty of counterplay with the bishop pair and an outside pass pawn with this h pawn.
And guess what? f4 is gonna fall too. Right?
And then
what on earth is going on? I mean, who's even better? Bishop takes f4. There's a rook f3. Doesn't rook f3 There's
bishop
bishop
G4.
G4.
Yeah.
Rook F3, bishop G4, and rook F1. There's
Then I could play G5 because you're no longer attacking H7.
yeah. That's the thing. I was trying to win something there, the H7 pawn, but I can't quite make it work.
Yeah, this is one that I think that Ju and June is going to regret. Wait. Okay, now bishop G4, this bishop F3.
There is bishop F3, so we're not losing material. But king F2, and we're down 2 pawns for the exchange. So
Now, I would keep the bishops. Yeah, good idea.
Yes, it's great to keep the 2 bishops, right? So rook d8 check, king g7. If those pawns start getting going, Ju and June could be crying.
And here go the pawns. And that's why I liked that Gira kept the bishops on the board, because by trading light square bishops, then white could probably blockade the light square. Look, bishop G4. Now here comes H5. She's just doing such an excellent job of getting her pawns going. But there's some rook G8 check stuff. You have to be a little bit careful, because at the right moment, there could be a counter.
And you don't have time.
Rook G8, rook D6. She walked right into it.
Oh, yeah, rook D6, and you can't defend it. It's just over.
I'm such jinx. I'm such a jinx.
Look at that pattern. Look at how strong that bishop on C4 is, stopping you from defending the bishop. And Ju Wenjun takes the 1-point lead. But let's go to the game of Irina with 3 seconds left on the board. Whoa, she's only got 3 seconds, and this is a crazy middle game position.
And it's like one of the more normal positions you see. I mean, it's crazy, but it's like, wait, this looks like we're on move 15, even though we're on move 36.
I know.
Oh, gosh. 1.8 seconds left. So I think any move would probably be good. But Irina playing quickly. King G8 was a smart move. So
yeah, now, but I think Sarah is going to just keep the tension, keep pieces on the board, keep that pressure on the D pawn, maybe queen D2 here, queen D3 instead. Oh, don't trade everything off if you can avoid it.
There's back rank checkmate. And Irina
exactly. So she didn't have time to take on B4. And now queen D4 check. You can't play queen F6 because of rook G8, but she just chose to go back with D4.
Oh, actually, there's a rook on B6, so the queen is actually protected. I missed that too. I was thinking the same exact thing. I was like, whoa, there's all these checks, but I forgot the rook was on B6. So we had the same exact mistake in mind because we're looking at the tactics.
Yeah, because we're so excited about winning that material. Queen D4 played. There is rook F7 winning another pawn, but it was a check, so there wasn't time to do it right away. That's why rook E6 preventing that. Irina's doing pretty well, avoiding complete disaster with just 1 second on our clock. I mean, this is impressive blitz skills.
I was about to say I'm super impressed by her ability to defend.
Oh, she she thought she pre-moved. She thought it was going to be rook A6, Robert.
Oh, I'm glad you're the jinx this time. It's always been me to this point. And that was the last game of the 3+1. But I think Sarah, she kind of earned that victory by the better clock management. I think this game will be canceled if I'm honestly. Didn't they start with
pre-move catastrophe? Another one for the books. I mean, in your commentary career for the Speed Chess Champs, have you seen more pre-move triumphs or disasters?
Disasters for sure. And let's go back to that game because Sarah was very smart, and not because of the pre-move, but because if she takes an A6, rook takes B4, we know that this should be a theoretically drawn position. Rook and 4 versus rook and 3. Not that it's easy. Even the legendary Garry Kasparov famously lost he had the rook and 3 pawns. He lost in that theoretically drawn position. But rook D4 is smart because you keep more pieces on the board. Then you'll bring your king back, and having pawns on both flanks is beneficial in this case for the side with the extra material. So rook takes B4 was just she was expecting rook A6. She has 3.8 seconds left. She was trying to move quickly. It happened. So I don't really fault her, but a big loss there for Irina because the match is so close.
Yeah, really tough one. That can't be fun, Robert, after playing so well. That was the second time we saw a situation with like rook and 4, although the other one was even weirder because the side with the 3 pawns ended up winning, right?
Right.
Speaking of which, Ju Wenjun, that was Ju Wenjun's insane turnaround against Olga earlier in the match. But right now she is up a point. She's up a point, and this is their last game of the 3-minute. Can she extend that in this game?
Good position for white. I prefer the bishop to the knight. And D4 is a move you're always considering, but you're probably a little reluctant because then eventually bishop C4. She does play D4. She's an incredibly strong player, and she recognizes that I need to do this. Otherwise, I will have a permanent weakness. And I think it was well timed. Actually, I think it was really well timed, and that black should not even be worse anymore.
Yeah. This has been thematic for our commentary today. Getting that d4 move in when you have the isolated queen pawn. Bishop a f3, little in between move. Did that change anything?
And she plays rook to b8. Probably not, because e4, even though you leave black with the isolated pawn, it actually is a strong pass pawn, and you also free up the f4 square, for instance, for the black knight. So e4 is a move where you're playing for a win, but you're also playing for a loss. It's
I do not like that move, not one little bit. Because your bishop at f3 also gets killed. And oh, the knight c5 ideas, knight g5 ideas. Yikes, don't play e4.
Although e4 has like the long-term benefit of, if you could play all at one time, g3, bishop g2, e4, f4, then it makes perfect sense. But you're not getting that. So it was too time consuming. And now h3, so bishop g4 is on my mind as an idea.
Yeah, bishop g4. I like this move h3. It wouldn't have occurred to me, but there's nothing to worry about here. Pawn takes e3. We simply take with the queen. Knight c5 doesn't seem too scary either. You do get to play d3, but the problem is it's going to be hard to hold on to that pawn if you do that because of b4.
Right.
But there was this takes on e3 after knight c5. That said, white gets something as well. There's a weak pawn on e3, but we get this beautiful f-file.
Yeah, it's funny because I think most people will be like, oh no, I have an isolated pawn e3 and be upset about it. But I actually didn't love rook f1. I thought she should have played bishop d5 first, just to show that really quickly. Is bishop d5, try to play e4, try to play rook f1. That's the benefit of having an e-pawn, is you solidify this bishop on d5, so you can cement it in there. Instead, she played this move order where she's actually giving up this pawn on e3 with check, but hoping that the bishop in the long run will be good for her. Now I'm starting to worry about the white king.
Yeah, knight d3 played. By the way, 8 seconds left on the clock for Olga. So Zhu Wenjun also just playing on her clock, which makes perfect sense. That is part of the game. Rook c3 played. What is knight f2? You have just king h2 and then queen e5 check?
Yeah, and I guess I go back to g1. So you get a couple checks, but it's not maybe anything more than something funny is that knight e5 will sacrifice the black queen to get the white queen, but maybe I've like, if knight e5, I had some renegade queen ideas. So instead we have this, but now black's feeling a bit tied up. So now I would play queen e5 check, but I'm still kind of concerned about some end games where the white rook lands in c7. It's not the cleanest position for black.
Yeah, so it's just still a little better for white because of that minor piece. But she has played queen e5. I'm sorry, more compensation because you have that better piece. But we can always play knight takes f3, right?
Yeah. So bishop d5 here, and watch out for rook f5. This is like the type of counterplay you need. She played rook e7, which is a worse version of rook f5. Watch out for knight g4 check. So she had to move rook back to a7. So
right, knight g4 check would have been nasty, or knight f3.
So she chose the wrong rook to attack the knight, which, okay, it happens. But black is currently up 2 pawns, but we're about to see a true bullet scramble, it feels like.
Yeah, rook e7. No, she's not going to want the draw. No, she's played g6. There we go. Rook a5.
Yeah, extra pawn here for black.
Yeah, and an extra 10 seconds. So Zhu Wenjun is definitely going to try to keep this going.
Rook f6 maybe? Okay, knight d7 first, but she can play rook f6, offering an exchange of rooks. So honestly, I think white is doing fine here, but with 1 second on the clock, oh gosh, I'm scared now.
Yeah, she got down to just 2 seconds.
Oh, she barely got that move off. Oh, she lost her rook though. She's playing.
Yeah, that's the problem of leaving yourself with that 1 second. And Zhu Wenjun, 5 points as she heads towards the bullet.
And let's go to the final game in the 3-minute portion between Desi Khoury and Zansaya Abdulmalik. We have, what a crazy position we just enter here. It looks like Desi Khoury is winning. Rook takes g5 is a hanging.
Yeah. And now let's see, rook g6. No, she just took the pawn. And now there's also g5. So she's just winning. She's winning a piece here and the game, and that's good news for the commentators because it makes this a really close match. Because remember that Abdul Malik won 2 in a row. So she actually started 3.5, 1.5. So this is a pretty big comeback for Desi.
It is. And if you look at the match scores, it's a 1-point match in this one. We have a 1-point match in Sara versus Irina, a 1-point match in Ushanina versus Harika Jonavali, and then a 2-game lead for Ju Wenjun. All the matches could go either player's way. Jennifer, I'm stoked about this.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited to get into the bullet. It's going to be hard to keep track because there's so many close matches. I'm trying to think of players who are behind that are better than their opponents in bullet. I'm thinking not Irina. Olga's been in time pressure every game.
I'm going to give the nod to Daisy Corey. I think that she's a dangerous bullet player, but again, I think I'm a little my judgment is a little clouded by the fact that Zansaya was it was a one-sided matchup against Anna Ushanina in the opening leg. So I think because of that, I'm not giving Zansaya her due, but I know for a fact that Daisy Corey is a super dangerous bullet player. And so I think it's a toss-up. It's really a toss-up in terms of who's the better player in bullet.
But it's funny that you mentioned that because I just checked their bullet ratings, Robert, and guess what they are?
Exactly even.
Exactly 1 point separated.
Are you serious?
1 point, yes.
Oh my gosh.
24-30 and 24-31.
Oh my, so it is really a toss-up there. Well, we are going to take a quick break. I'm going to grab some water. I need to calm myself down or really get my energy revved up because it will be a fantastic finish here in the Women's Speeches Championship. We'll be right back. we are at the bullet stage of this opening round of the Women's Speeches Championship Grand Prix stage. And we don't know who is going to win any of these matches. This is actually the most exciting day of commentary I've had in a very long time. So, Jennifer, I'll make my predictions first because I know I made you do it last time. I'm going with Daisy Corey. I'm going with Ju Wenjun. She has a 2-point lead. I'm going with Sarah. And then I'm going to go down to Ushanina. I have to. She has the lead. She won the first Grand Prix leg. What do you think about those predictions?
Well, those are actually the exact predictions I made earlier, Robert. So you've come around to, those are exactly the same predictions I made, I think. Yeah.
Nobody's opinion should be so stuck in place that they're not willing to learn from their very smart and wise and prescient co-commentator. So I've learned from you. So we have the matchup between Daisy Corey and Zensaya here to start, but I'm willing to go wherever.
Okay, I'll switch it up then. I'm going to go with Zensaya. I said Desi earlier. I'm switching it up. I think that one extra rating point in Bullet is going to make the difference.
Yes, I think so as well. You know, it shows she's a much stronger player. We always rely on who is the high-rated player. It's the only way to do it. But in this opening thus far, D5 was played to chisel at white center. If you move the e-pawn, in comes knight f5. So queen d2 was played to line up a bishop h6 maneuver. I think that, okay, h6, fine. I play this kind of stuff all the time in Bullet. You're not committing to anything, but I think you should take on e4 at some moment and then either put your knight on d5 or on f5. And she does it.
Yeah, so you're saying you like black here or just a toss-up?
I don't prefer black's position in like an objective sense, but as somebody who plays this kind of style all the time on Chess.com and Blitz and Bullet games, I think it's okay. Like play b6. But, you know, this bishop on e3 will be captured at some moment. Okay, she did it a little too early for my taste, but she still can just play b6, bishop b7. I think she has some time here.
Yeah, rook e3 played now, and rook takes e3. The question is always which position is easier to play in Bullet, and I think the answer is black because you can just make a bunch of moves quickly with this construction. That said, c6, not a move I wanted to see for black.
I was shaking my head because c6 makes your bishop on c8 look like a French bishop, and before it had life. If you play b6 and move your bishop out, you can still do that. You should do that. Play b6 and develop your bishop. She plays b5. She is an ambitious player. But I don't like the look of this knight on c5. That scares me from black's point of view. I like white again, Jennifer. I prefer white's position for sure.
Queen c7, knight e5, queen e2 played.
I'm looking at sacrifices. Like knight g6 or knight f7 coming in soon. Oh, gosh. In fact, black is now down 14 seconds.
And the position's not good either. I mean, g4 was even possible, but she's just chosen to take on c6. There's no bishop b7 excitement because we've also got that knight on c5. Look at these knights.
Now, knight takes f7 is possible, I think, because... Oh, wait, no, not knight takes f7. What am I talking about? I thought for some reason knight f7 would drag the queen away. Wait, g4 is not a move I would play in Bullet. Oh, gosh. So what's going on here? Oh, and now she takes an f7, but she took an h4. Okay, she had to because otherwise the king would have been in trouble. But what do you make of this? The time advantage is great for white.
Yeah, but the position is a little less controlled than earlier, isn't it? There's things like bishop f6, bishop g5 you have to worry about.
I like the look of that.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of worries before. Okay, queen g3, trying to extricate the king, potentially play king h2. And she just won by timeout. So she's now got the 2-point lead, does Abdumalik, 5.5, 3.5. As we move to Olga's game against Ju Wenjun, it's apparently, wait, does that mean Olga won the first? Yeah, she won the first Bullet game because it was 5-3 going into the match.
And suddenly this match is the closest. This was the one that started with a 2-game lead for Ju Wenjun, but Olga won the first game. And now it's 1 point where all the other matches have gone to a 2-point lead for Abdumalik, for Sarah Kadem, and for Anna Ushanina. So we can stay here. This looks like a fun battle, but with 6 minutes, just over 6 minutes left in the match clock, anything can happen in all 4 matches.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing day that we had. Bishop g3. By the way, I didn't expect Olga to do that well in the Bullet because she was getting into so much time pressure. But there's something about Bullet that even if you're a time pressure addict, you know you just have to go. There's no question. Now, speaking of going for it, Queen H5 here, G6, and we don't have time to take on D5. So she did it anyway. I was wondering about knight D5 first. Instead, she's hammering on this D5 pawn, thinking that if knight F6, we have bishop H4.
Right. That's actually a really annoying pin. So queen F6 was played. I think it's a great move because now we can trade and you can play bishop H4, which will probably be a good move nonetheless, but there's no pin. You're not maximizing some of the pressure here. So she takes on F6 and bishop H4, there's knight E4 or bishop E5, there's still knight E4. She brings back to D7 instead. Safe and sound. No risk by Zhu Wenjun just yet.
All right. Bishop E4, knight A4. Looking at that pawn on B6, it's currently defended by the D7 knight. You play B5. Now very fast, Zhu Wenjun is playing.
I would take and play, I was going to say rook C8 instead, but...
Too fast, maybe.
She stole a pawn. She's playing, I would say, too fast. And the reason why is not because she's doing anything wrong. In fact, her position is excellent here. But you start getting in this habit of every move you're playing so quickly that when you should sit and think for a couple seconds, you don't do it. And here's a good example. Like, do you take on B4 and allow the capture on F6? No. She plays knight E4. But was that the best move? I'm not sure. Bishop E7 now. She plays it. And bishop takes E4. I think is the only move. She does it. And then rook to D7 coming. Like white has, oh, she took on it here. So we're going to see a mass exchange. Oh, this is tough to calculate, honestly. All these moves happening so quickly.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a even endgame in the end of the day. And that this one, I mean, there's not a lot of draws in bullet, but this could be one. There is that 1 second increment, so it's not really a pure bullet game, right? I mean, it's bullet, but it's not like I flag you in a totally even position because, you know, I have 10 seconds and you have 20, right? It's a little different.
And Ushanina has now a 3-game lead. That match looks locked up for her based on how much time's left in the overall clock with 3 minutes and about 40 seconds. So it looks like Ushanina will go on here. Zhu Wenjun. Oh, this is a problem now. Active king. Take on D3. Rook C2.
No. Rook C2, I thought.
Oh, she traded.
Huh. Maybe she thinks this is promising as well, but I think that white has enough pawn moves.
Yeah, the king can't get in, even though the black king is not active.
We have F4, right?
Just don't capture
don't take on G5 and let you have that passed H pawn. As long as I don't do that, I think I should be okay. Okay, and now King E3, and it looks like you're locked out. You're locked out.
But if I'm Zhu Wenjun, I don't accept the draw. I keep playing. Like, well, you can only play for so long, but you try to waste some time in the match clock.
How do you play for A4 or something? Okay, next game. As this retains the closest match, as you said, Anna Ushina is running away with it. And Irina...
I'm going to go to the Abdulmalik game against Desi Corey because Desi Corey is on the verge of winning this game. And if she wins it, she will only be down 1 game. But she has to make sure she doesn't blunder a knight fork or some kind of draw here. So, okay, she's doing this well.
This is going to be a good match if she does win this game.
Oh, it's winning now. King G7, King G8, and there's knight E7. So here, King H7, King H8, you end up promoting your pawn. This is a win.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, queen.
And you can even just sacrifice your queen for this knight at any moment. And she should do it. She's still 2+ minutes in the match clock. She will get another game after this. So she doesn't have to worry about needing to win in 5 seconds. So actually, Zansai is smart here to play this out. Play to checkmate. Waste time. Oh, she resigned. After I said there's 2 minutes left. So this probably is the last game. But Desi Corey, if she wins, she ties the match. So, oh my gosh, Jennifer, this match in the Zhu Wenjun game. I think we'll go first to Zhu Wenjun because that game's a little farther along here. And Olga Giria needs a win, and her position looks excellent.
And look at that Scandinavian. I'm glad as a Shahadi, I'm glad I switched my pick to Abdulmalik, Robert.
And you switch Abdulmalik, but I switch over to Olga Giria's game. And what's happening here? Isn't black up a pawn? And with this looks like a big problem for Zhu Wenjun.
Zhu Wenjun in trouble. Oh my gosh. It's a clean pawn, huh? Clean pawn. Bishop E6 played. And maybe it's even more than a clean pawn. Potential weaknesses in white's position as well. That G3 square was juicy. Knight F4 threatening. Bishop takes knight, followed by knight D3 check. And that's a big 4Q.
And there's a minute left overall in the match clock. So we're keeping an eye here. We're looking at Desi Corey's game. I mean, just so much And to remind everybody, if there is a tie, there will be a tiebreaker, a 2-game mini match of 1 minute plus 1 second increment, and it's going to be crazy.
I think we're going to get one. That's my prediction. Because look at this. Knight takes G2 check. Dominating. That's a second pawn. Bishop H6. Not only that, our pieces
Rook takes
are
D2.
all over her. Knight H3 check. Now Rook takes D2.
Oh my gosh. Bishop F4 is checkmate coming. She resigned.
And there it is. We have a split match.
Wait, but there are 25 seconds left. We will get one more game.
Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh. So this one is probably going to be decisive. Unless it's a draw.
She could have lost on time to go straight to the tiebreaker, but she probably, you're not thinking like that. You're like, okay, I just have to resign. This is awful. But now she's the black pieces in the final game. Let's go to the Abdulmalik game because it's crazy. There's a king on D7 out in the open, but Daisy Corey is up a couple pawns here. And if she wins, she ties her matchup too.
Wow. And this one, by the way, the time is up. So this one will be the last game. I don't know. Okay, so Bishop E4 played 26 seconds for Abdulmalik. She's taking her time on this move. Bishop H3, threatening G5 check.
That's scary. That's really scary. And she allows G5 check, and she'll play Rook E6, I guess, to block it.
Yeah. But Bishop F5, Queen takes D3 would be winning a queen. So she's instead going down in exchange here.
I actually still like this for black, though, because you have the potential of pass pawns. Like, I can Bishop C4. You have all your pawns protected by this bishop. I mean, how many pawns does black have? It's 7 on 4, 3 extra pawns for the exchange. No, this has to be good for black.
Wow, and now Rook D2, and how do you defend the fourth? Okay, you get E6. You get E6. That's good. But the king's now coming to C5, which is a cozy little spot. Bishop D3. You want to protect that pawn on H7. But, okay, doubled rooks on the second.
And all Zunsaya needs is a draw. So if she can make a perpetual at some point, she's going to go for it. Or she should go for it. And she's actually just pushing her pawns. Can she just
Don't blame her. Don't blame her.
I don't at all.
I wish black could have gotten a little faster, actually. It feels like she's been doing a lot of things other than pushing her pawns. Because now that H pawn is just too strong. It's about the best pawn, not the quantity here. And now it looks like Abdulmalik's gonna get this one done.
What a crazy game this one was. Even though everyone was probably Rook G1 check, take on G5. What's going on? It has to be still winning for white, but barely. Like I see 2 pass pawns against a rook, I get scared. And like
but luckily for Abdulmalik, even a draw saves her the match, right?
That's true.
Oh yeah, so she's good. She wins this match.
So let's go to Olga Giria versus Ju Wonjun. This position is now completely winning for Abdulmalik. She's actually just going to play F4, F5, and so on. Let's go to this game here. And Ju Wonjun, Olga Giria, if there's a winner, they win the match on the spot. If it's a draw, they go on to a tiebreaker. White is up a pawn here, just 1 pawn, and should have good chances.
She's up a pawn, and there's those double pawns on the F file, so it should be pretty promising. Yeah. Even time, I think white's gonna win this. I think Olga's gonna make it through. Look at that. Rook takes A3. Now we got the pass B pawn. But we know how good Ju Wonjun is at the defense, so don't count her out to the very last minute.
Yes, we saw her actually win that game with rook and 3 pawns, down a pawn against rook and 4 pawns. But she won that game. She just needs to stop this B pawn, and it's easier said than done. But she keeps giving checks. She put a rook behind the pawn. This is great defense thus far. Good move, rook to B7. You're forcing the bishop to commit. The rook comes to B6, but now you can play bishop D7 again, stopping B5. This is not easy. Oh, but now B5. Push that pawn through.
And yeah, that's what it's all about.
Oh, this is bad. Because if king comes to E7, there's also sometimes rook H8. But B7 now. Oh, bishop D5? Clever. But just B7, no, you've won. Your bishop on E4 protects the pawn. This is Olga Giria taking this one.
Yeah, just move the rook and queen. And Olga Giria does manage to advance against the women's world champion. Huge congratulations. What a match that was.
Wow. So we end up getting no tie breaks necessary. Olga Giria with perhaps the upset of the entire Women's Speed Chess Championship, beating Ju Wonjun in the opening round. And what a performance it was from her, because if I'm not mistaken, she was down 2 points and won the final, or won 3.5 of the final 4. Is that right?
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be ugly for her. I got this one prediction completely wrong because not only did I not predict the winner, but I also thought it was going to be a blowout for Jun Wen-jun because in the blitz game, she was always ahead on time.
Wow. I mean, I'm shocked by that performance there. Amazing by Olga Giria. She fought tooth and nail to the very stretch. We will have an interview, so we're going to take a quick break while we set up this interview. And when we return, we will be able to ask some great questions. So let us take our quick break, get everything set up, and we will return in just a few minutes. Well, we have the great pleasure of bringing IM's Ansai Abdul Malik on for an interview. First of all, congratulations on what was an absolutely crazy match.
Thank you. Yeah, the match was crazy. I think I lose the control after we played like 5 games, maybe. Yeah, so I think I was like +2, and then something just happened, and I just started missing some easy things, I think. Yeah, so okay, I was, I think, kind of lucky.
Well, the match was incredibly entertaining, Zansaya. Had you have many experiences playing against Corey in the past?
And not really. I think we played like few classical games, and we played in Stainless Memorial like 1 month ago, maybe.
And how
Yeah,
do
but
you
there was just 2 games, so.
and how do you what did you expect from her today? Did she surprise you in any way today?
No, actually not. I was preparing the line with D5, the Scandinavian defense. And for the white, I just thought like, okay, I'll just play whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's like you won 4 games in a row at some point. So this was sort of a match of streaks. I mean, did you feel very confident once you won all those games in the 3-minute time segment? But then Daisy won the final 2 games. So, like, what were your emotions like? Was it a bit of a roller coaster?
Yeah, it's like I knew like for me it's better to play like the first time control just to make a draw, and then in 3+1 I feel more comfortable. Yeah, so the plan was to win in 3+1, and then to just to make a draw in 1+1. So yeah, but then when she started just beating me back, I was like, oh god. I was kind of nervous. Yeah, but okay, I mean, I think I played fine. Yeah. But okay, it's too hard, right? I mean, you never know how many games you should play, and also the time control is very tricky. Yeah, so you have to be careful.
Yeah, we were wondering about that there was one game that you could maybe extended. But that said, you mentioned 3-minute chess, or is that your favorite of the three time controls?
Yeah, that's what I usually play online. Like, actually I like to play without increments, like just just 3 minutes. Yeah, or just bullet. So this 1 second is kind of tricky. I mean, like you have it, but sometimes it's not enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
And let me ask you, because in the first leg, you struggled in the opening match, but it seemed like you were a totally different player today. Did you just forget about that first match and just say, it's a new event, let me just show my best chess?
Yeah, because when I played my first match, I was too nervous, I think, because I was thinking like we're playing the very, very tough match, and I don't know, I couldn't control my emotions, and I think that's why I lost. I mean, I played so badly. But today, yeah, I was like, okay, just let's do it. Whatever. I mean, I didn't care about the result. I just wanted to enjoy the match.
Well, we had a lot of fun watching you. You're only 20 years old. You're an international master. Any advice to the young people watching at home? What what should they do? What should they work on in this time where a lot of events have been canceled? Is there anything you think
Yeah.
people should be studying more of?
I think they should practice more and be ready. Like, we never know, like, when we're going to start the tournament, so you have to be prepared. So just solve some tactics and play online. I think that's it. And don't forget about the sport, of course. I mean, just some other stuff. Yeah.
Ah, you mean like working out, exercise?
Yeah,
What's your favorite form of physical sport?
yeah. Boxing.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
do you do any chess boxing?
No, I was thinking about it, and some of the people they offered me to join, but I think that's too early. Maybe later. I don't know. I will see on my chess career.
No, the risk
Wow.
is too high. Keep this protected. Keep it protected.
Yeah.
Just sparring, just sparring. So who are you going to box next? And if you had to box somebody in the women's speed chess championships, who do you think would be the strongest adversary?
I think Kasinuk. She's a
Yeah.
tough one. Yeah.
She seems like the type of person who's just going to be good at everything she does. Like, you know,
Yeah, she's really strong.
especially a competitive endeavor. I don't want to play her in tiddlywinks or air hockey.
Well, speaking of really strong, Zansai, you next play against Katerina Lucknow. Do you have any special preparation in mind, or what's your mindset like facing such a strong player?
No, I think I'm not gonna prepare. I'll just, I don't know, have some fun before the match, and then just try to enjoy it. Yeah, and let's see just what happens. I mean, of course she's strong, but okay, that's Bliss, right? Everything can happen.
For sure. Well, I really like your optimistic attitude and your outlook. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Congrats.
And you just heard from Zansaya Abdumalik, as you see here on the bracket. She moves on to face Katerina Lochno. She said, hey, she's a very strong player, but I'm just going to have fun with it. And Jennifer, we look across the bracket now. We see Vaishali, once again, she's made her way into the quarterfinals. In the first leg, she made it all the way to the semis. But here she faces Valentina Gunino. Do you have Gunina favored in that matchup?
What do you think? Let you go first.
I'm going to go with Gunina. I think that Valentina has shown excellent chess throughout the WSEC, and she has the practice. She went through all 6 qualifiers. She was the last person to qualify for the event. I think she has her nerves under control. She has played excellent match after excellent match. She's been down in some matches to come back against June in the first Grand Prix leg. So I think that Gunina has to be the favorite, but I will never count Vaishali Rameshbaru out of any single match because she is such a tenacious defender.
Absolutely. And I think that the matches on the other side of the bracket have at least one are really close, actually. I can't pick favorites in these matches, actually. I think they're so tough. I mean, I'd have to go with Olga, considering she beat the women's world champion today. But Anna Ushina versus Hou Yifan. I mean, normally you would give Hou Yifan a huge edge, but her time issues today, Robert, I mean, that might be a toss-up. And based on today's play, I might even go towards Anna.
Yeah, hopefully for Yifan, she does something about the internet connection, because that is incredibly worrisome as you get into the quicker time controls. And when you have a player like Ushanina, who won the first leg and is playing such good chess, that you have to have everything together. You don't want to be worrying about my internet connection or this and that and the other things. So you need to focus strictly on the chess. I think that Yifan has to be the favorite based on overall chess skill. But Anna Ushanina has proven time and time again she is not to be underestimated. So my 4 picks will be Yifan, Gunina, Lochno. I'm going to go with the favorite there, even though I think Zansai has a clear chance. And that 4th match, I'm going to go with Sara. Something tells me that she can handle Olgiria, though I think if I was going to take a step back, I think Olga is probably the slight favorite, but I'm going with the upset with Sara.
Okay, well, I'll go for the upset in the Zansaya Abdumalik match. So I'll go for Abdumalik. I mean, learning that she's been boxing, by the way, I saw Photo Chess in the chat. She said she's been boxing for 6 years. She's got that killer instinct. I'm going to go for Zansaya, Olga, Anna, just because I'm worried about that internet issue. And also Anna's not playing really well. So I'm going to go for the upset in that match. And then, I know how great Valentina is in attacking. So that's the one match that I'll agree with you, Robert.
See, I think I've learned my lesson. I'm going to start agreeing with you. So my choices are now Zansaya, Olga, Anna, and Valentina. Those are my new choices because Jennifer has proven quite wise thus far. And I think that we will have – there are close matchups. It's hard to predict them, and it's going to be fun regardless. So let's remind everybody that tomorrow we will be back, same time, same place. It will be the quarterfinals. You see there, leg 2, July 2nd. That's what we're going to have a day from now. And Jennifer, it was such a fun day for me because the matches were close. You're a great person to commentate with. We've known each other for a long time. We don't get this opportunity so often, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
I've had so much fun as well. It is going to start tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific time. That's 8:30 where I am in Philadelphia. And I want to thank everybody in the chat and all the viewers. We had so much fun today. And if it keeps up like this, it's going to be a really fun week and weekend.
It certainly will. So thank you, everybody who's been watching. Thank you to the staff behind the scenes doing such a good job. And thanks to the players who have made this a really fantastic and special day. On that note, we're going to sign off here, but tune in tomorrow for more FIDE Chess.com Women's Speed Chess Championship action.
See you guys tomorrow.